Yeah, I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left.
I'll say your full name.
Yusuf bin Suhail.
Bin Suhail, okay.
Perfect.
I didn't go for the last part because it was too risky last week, but now I know. Hello everybody and welcome to the GTR24 Sprint Series here from the Hungaroring. It is me, Ewan O'Leary, commentating alongside Yusuf bin I've forgotten I've said his name already. I'm so sorry. You know who he is. He was here last week for the last hour and we had a fantastic race last week as well. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of crashing to start. Not quite so much crashing in the second half, but it was a little bit less chaotic, so that was good. But yeah, a good race last week. And a very big winning margin as well, you have to say. Over a minute in the end for Pedersen and Henningsen. Yeah, a big winning margin, but that is not really very normal in this series, is it? It's normally very close, and hopefully we do get another close race here again tonight.
Yeah, of course, you have to hope for these close races, Ewan. Yusuf bin Sahel, I'm sure.
Thanks.
I'm sure you'll have it. You'll have it by the end of the stream.
Yeah.
I'm confident in that. But as you mentioned, Burst Esport picking up the win. 2 wins back to back now. So they're going to be looking for that hat trick, surely.
Yeah, surely. They're going to be hoping for that, and that double race win in the last couple of rounds has given them a good championship lead here of 9 points over AAA Esports. That's Haniaf Sabti and Alexander Vromont in second, with Musto only 7 points behind them. So it's interesting up the front of the field, but those are the only 3 teams who have actually scored points in all 3 races so far, and that's why they're probably why they're up so far up the order. They've got about double the points of everybody else, so it's becoming a 3-horse race, but as we mentioned, there's a long way to go in this season yet. There's 12 rounds overall. This is round 4, so we're not even halfway yet, so there's still plenty of times for things to chop and change, which is definitely good.
Yeah, of course, and those 3 at the top of the standings are just starting to run away just a little bit. 58 points for Burst Esports, with a AAA on 49, and then Musto GT or Musto GD Esports on 42.
Yeah, it's very close. So we're going to get the times coming in now. I believe that Casper Henningsen is going to be the first, and he has qualified the car. I'm pretty sure he's qualified the car on 2 occasions, and this is going to be his 3rd one. He just goes to the top, obviously, because he's the first one to go across the line, and we'll see who's really going to challenge him in this session. We have got a driver change in this series as well to comment on. And we'll bring that to you in a moment, but we're just going to see the first run times coming in. 25-minute session to kick it off, of course, in case you've not been with us so far, and then it is a 2-hour race, as it will be throughout the whole of the season. Alessio Pucedo is currently at the top of the timing sheets, and we'll see if anyone can get near him. Not really at the moment. It's looking very impressive, and we've seen our first 43 already. We've seen some fantastic times as Tiziano Brioni goes to the top. These guys really are very quick, and you're seeing it right now. Already 3 guys into the 43s.
Yeah, and in practice we saw only 143 coming through, and that was from the Burst Esport team, and I believe it was Jesper Pedersen who pulled that one out. But obviously qualifying, everyone has a little bit more under the belt, and Payet getting a 42.9, so we've already got someone into the 42s, and well, let's see if anyone can improve upon that.
That's sensational from Pisic there. A really, really fast time from the Porsche, which looks to be the car of choice. Looking at the top 3 right now, all 3 are Porsches. Brioni has been known to pick the Porsche off on a lot of occasions throughout this season, well, they have picked it once again. It's paying off for them right now. 3 Porsches in the top 3, and then nobody else can really get near them. But I keep wondering about this myself. Is it better to be picking a different car for each race, or is it better to just chop and change depending on which car is best for each round? I'm really not sure, to be honest, because personally I prefer a car to stay with for the whole of the season, but there's definitely going to be times where a single car is limited around a certain track.
Yeah, you'd have to think so, and so many different cars to pick from, varying from circuit to circuit. Seeing quite a few Porsches, and especially at the top of the timings, is just littered with the German manufacturer.
Yeah, and we've got a Lexus wedged in there at the moment, in 3rd position. We've also got a Lexus in 7th at the moment. Mikael Mo's just brought that over the line there, and he has done a 44.3 at the moment, so he's doing alright. It looks like we've got most of the guys over the line for a time so far. 21 drivers on the grid today, by the way. Well, that's 42 drivers, if you see what I mean, because it's 21 teams. But yeah, lots of drivers, lots of interesting things are going to happen throughout this race. I'm not really sure how this race is going to play out, really, because the Hungaroring doesn't seem to be, or in my experience of seeing races here, it doesn't seem to be the track where there's the most overtaking. But then again, GT3 cars can kind of provide overtaking from anywhere, so I'm kind of interested to see how this race is going to play out.
Yeah, you have to be, and while Hungary may not provide the most overtaking opportunities, when you compare it to a circuit like Zolder, where we came from in round 3, in my opinion, Hungary does offer far more overtaking opportunities, especially down into turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's going to be the hotspot really for action. So we'll be keeping our eyes fixed down there and seeing really who's going to be making the moves early on. But as we said earlier, Pisic still on top at the moment. Brioni is in second place, and that Euronics car is the only car in the 42s at the moment. We thought 43 was an impressive time. Well, we've been thinking again, really, because Pisic has just redefined the normal here. Ross McGregor goes into 8th position there in the 23 Simply Race Sancho guys, heading a group of 4 Bentleys there, with Miles Dixon, Chris Vickers, and also Tobin Lee all there. But looking to get into the points at least in these races. And something that is really interesting throughout this field is the spread of the field. Really, there's a lot of different experience on this grid, and it's reflected in the lap times as well, and it will be reflected in the race as well.
Yeah, of course it will be, and we did see a couple of incidents with a few back markers last time out at Zolder for round 3. Hopefully we see none of that this time round, and back markers hopefully will just be that little bit smarter, a bit more sensible with spotting some of those faster cars on the approach.
Yeah, hopefully, and the Hungaroring actually is a bit more of a wider open circuit to actually see what you're doing going around here. I think it's a little bit better for seeing lapped cars and whatever, because we saw quite an attritional race last week at Zolder. The leader, obviously, Pedersen and Henningsen won by over a minute in the end, and there were only 4 cars on the lead lap in the dying moments, and then even to finish in 11th, you were 3 laps down, so it was a very attritional race. Obviously a short circuit, so you easily put a lap down there, because it's just under 90 seconds around there, but still, the point stands as Tim Yarshall, top of the timing sheet for him. The 57 car just goes ahead of the 58.
Check, my bum.
Nice symmetry up at the top there, and 242s now. Very impressive from the whole Euronics squad. You can tell they've been practicing, and they're doing very well at the moment.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. 5750 right up at the tops. Great stuff coming in from the Euronics gaming teams. And let's see if they can stay up there, both of them in those 42s now. And again, it's still those Porsches up at the sharp end of the field.
Quite remarkable, really. You got 5 Porsches in the top 6 at the moment. As Casper Henningsen, I was having flashbacks to Hemmingsen back in the 24 hours, getting those two mixed up while they were both in the car. That was confusing, but he's just improved on his time there. With a 43.7, nearly 8 tenths, or nearly a second, away from Tim Yarshall at the top right now. You've got to say that I'm not really sure what the Porsche's characteristics would really help it around here. I know that in the final sector, its traction would really be very helpful because it's got all its weight over the rear wheels, of course. So it really does allow them to have that punch off the corner, and that would be helpful in the slower speed corners. But in the medium speed corners, I didn't think Porsche were that strong, but clearly they really have been very, very strong indeed, and they're putting all the other cars to shame, really.
Yeah, they are indeed. We're seeing, as you mentioned, that Lexus just sandwiched in between from Chris Henningsen and the Burst Esports Simplexity team. We're seeing Beavis up there in 7th, but again, just no one seems to be able to touch those Porsches at all. Got some Bentleys around that midpoint from 11 McGregor down to Vickers in 13th as well. Yeah,
indeed. So they're all kind of in a group there from 9th to 13th, with Schaefer also there for Butler Pal. Johannes Weiss, by the way, the other Butler Pal car, is in 5th position. That's a good job from them, because their best result so far this season is only 10th position. They've not been having a great season, despite, in my opinion, having the pace, really. So it's been a little bit disappointing from them, certainly in the race so far, but maybe they can put that right here tonight as Casper Henningsen comes over the line. Once again, he's going round and seemingly going quicker and quicker each time as he improves by 3 attempts and improves by 1 position, going up into 3rd position now, just half a second away from Tim Yarshall up the top. So it's all getting very close, and we've got a good racing prospect here. Maybe at the front it's a little bit more spaced out, and but we saw last week the midfield was just absolutely crazy and very entertaining indeed, and we're expecting no different today.
Yeah, going to be extremely, extremely close, as I'm just sitting on board with Page, who's, I believe, on a hot lap now, making his way down into that final sector of the circuit as he actually just gets well out of the way. He's abandoning that lap.
He is indeed. That's a bit of a disappointment for us because we'll see. We would have liked to see what he can do, but unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Instead, it looks like the only really man improving on his time at the moment is Daniella Brambilla at the moment. I've remembered how to say his name properly now, or I've learned how to say his name properly because Nick told me last week. It's not Brambilla, it's Brambilla. So there you go, I'll get it right now as he comes through the final corner. Currently 17th, but he's way down compared to what his pace looks like. Improves by nearly a second there, and he jumps up into 11th position, so a good job from him. And we'll see what he can do in the race, knocking on the doors of the top 10, and that's really where the most excitement is. Just outside of the top 10, it's incredibly close and really entertaining as well.
Yeah, if you look from Brambilla down to Dixon in 13th, the 400ths of a second separating just the three drivers. And it's really just, you know, the top two, then you've got third and fourth, and then it's just everyone else.
Yeah, it's very, very close. It really is. There's some incredibly tight margins down here. Just to give you a perspective on that, from 6th place down all the way to 17th, we're separated by a second. So it is quite remarkable, especially a circuit like the Hungaroring, where it's over 100 seconds, and that is quite long in retrospect. I know the F1 cars can do this circuit pretty quickly these days. They're down below a minute 20, I think. But these GT cars are a little bit more lethargic and a little bit slower, but it's going to make some, well, it has made for some very close times here, and that's what we really like to see here. Very close times I would definitely take over the speed. Maybe it's not quite as entertaining to drive, but it's going to be very entertaining to watch this race from here if the times are this close.
Yeah, and Yarshall just went even quicker, 42.903, but Henningsen is on a lap. He makes his way up to the hill, down into turn 4, carrying as much speed as he can, and now into turn 5, drop it down into second gear, feed on that power, just to use up all of the track on exits as you make your way into the very, very technical part of the circuit. 6 and 7, riding as much curve as you can, using up all of the track as you make your way into the fast flowing chicanes of 8 and 9. Easy on the throttle, easy to lose a back end, and now through 10 and 11, almost flat through 10 and into 11, quick downshift down into third, back on the power, and now down into sector 3.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the slowest sector of them all. 12, 13, and 14 mainly. It's not particularly fruitful really, but there's not many corners. But just in behind him here is the actual leader of the session at the moment, Tim Yarshall, who's also flying. So both of these guys look like they're going to seriously increase their position. It actually looks like Henningsen is struggling a little bit on this one, as Yarshall's going to come across the line. And he goes even quicker, I do believe, 42.6, which is 3 tenths faster. It seems that going out for more than one lap at a time is the done thing, really. And every time you go round, you just seem to get faster as Brioni goes into second now. Henningsen just continues to get pushed down here, and that's not good for the Lexus. But yeah, as I mentioned, the longer these guys stay out, the quicker they seem to go, which is kind of counterintuitive because you'd think the tyres would go off, but as the fuel goes down, you don't really lose that much tyre grip, and it seems these guys are just going faster and faster.
What a lap coming in from Yarshall, and Brioni as well, moving up into P2. Henningsen did improve, but it was nothing in comparison to the 42.6 that Yarshall pumped out. What a lap.
Yeah, that's going to be very difficult to beat, I have to say. Brioni's just done his best there with a 42.8, but even that's his best efforts. I was about to comment, actually, because Yarshall improved on his time a little bit earlier, but it was by a very minute kind of fraction of a second. And I was about to say, just look at how close these guys are to the limits of what you can actually pull out of these cars. Then he just goes and finds another 3 tenths like it's nothing. So it just shows these guys really are incredible at extracting the maximum performance out of these cars. And well, Yarshall is the best of them at the moment, 2 tenths in the lead. And as I said earlier, his time is going to be very, very difficult to beat.
Going to be exceptionally difficult to beat, as you mentioned there, Ewan. But Euronics doing a fantastic job at P1 and P3. And it's a Musto GD Esports team that separates them. Brioni with a fantastic lap before second.
Yeah, absolutely. Henningsen's just come over the line, by the way. Just 1 tenth down. A little bit distracted by everything going on right now, so apologies if we're missing some people going over the line. I don't think we are, or nobody of note anyway. But I'm just amazed and kind of in shock, really, at how strong Porsche are. I really am. Maybe in the race, although to be fair, they showed similarly good pace here at Brands Hatch, but in the race they didn't have the consistency and they burned more fuel ultimately than Lexus, so they had to make a longer stop than the Henningsen-Pedersen Lexus, and that's really what won that 94 car, the Burst Esport car, the win. But basically they won by 12 seconds in the end, but most of that came in the pit stop, to be honest. That's a very efficient car, is the Lexus, and the Porsche is almost one of the least efficient cars. It burns through fuel very quickly indeed, so I'm going to have to watch those guys in the pit stop taking a longer stop than those around them, even if they do have a pace advantage.
Yeah, and of course it's always going to come down to that consistency. You know, 1 hour race is not the longest endurance race that ever existed, but it's still a long race nonetheless, and you just got to keep your... You know, you just got to stay sensible, stay smart, not make any mistakes, and of course, just manage your tyres and manage that fuel as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Henningsen and Pedersen have been doing fantastically well so far. Bentley in the wall there, but I think they were just going back to the pit lane, so that's all okay. As it looks like Pucedo has just had a bit of an issue out of turn number 11, that is. The very fast, the kind of exit of the kind of middle sector, really, the S's section. It's a difficult corner, and one where you can very easily lose the car on the exit, and very easily go too wide as well, which is a problem, because you're likely to get a warning for going off out wide, and likely to invalidate your lap time as well. So these guys are going to be making sure they stay away, but this track has kind of been tarmacked all over, really. It's not been upheld very well. It's kind of got tarmac on the exits of corners these days instead of grass, which it used to have, which is a little bit of a shame, but it gives these guys a little bit more of a margin for error.
Yeah, it does indeed, as Pucedo going for a brand new lap as he makes his way through turn 3. And he had a little bit of a wobble through the final corner, so hopefully that doesn't impact his lap at all. A second separating those top 5, and then, well, the next second leads you all the way down to 17th, as Pucedo has a bit of a moment coming through turn 4, running a little bit wide on the exit.
Yeah, very easy to do, of course. Turn 4, the fastest corner on the circuit, the kind of uphill left-hander. Sometimes difficult to spot your apex out there, but these guys seem to be managing it okay. We're coming towards the end of the session now, 6 minutes to go. It looks like everybody's setting themselves up for their final run here, the final hurrah, and we'll see who's going to be cheering at the end of this one. But it's only a small victory, really. I know it's only a 2-hour race. It's the sprint series, of course, here at GTR24. But qualifying's not going to be the most important, especially with a turn 1 like this. You're going to need to A, stay out of trouble, and B, make up positions if you can, because that's definitely going to be the best opportunity to make up positions. And it's a very good complex of corners to actually do that. The turns 1, 2 and 3, often where we see most of the battling, and we're probably going to see it in the early reaches of this race, especially guys down the back trying to make up positions.
Yeah, indeed, and I think Brioni has just improved. He's closed in onto Yarshall by a bit, but still a 10th down with 5 minutes remaining of qualifying. As Henningsen, he's been pushed down a little bit further down into 5th now in the Lexus.
Brioni is still improving here. You commented he improved on his last lap. He's up by 3 tenths, I believe, on this lap, so this could be big for the Musto GD Esports Porsche. We'll see as he comes over the line what he can do, and he does go to the front now. 42.3. The gap is 1.5 tenths, and Tim Yarshall is not really in a position to improve right now, but with still just under 5 minutes to go. He will have the time. He's just slowing down, making sure his tyres are at the right temperature to give this one another go. I believe this is an abandonment of a lap here. So he's going to give this one more go, and the pressure is going to be on here, although starting on the first 2 rows isn't bad, whether it's first or second.
Yeah, Brioni, Pucedo and Henningsen are all in the pit, so they're going to be heading out sometime soon to get ready for a final flying lap But here comes Yarshal starting his lap. He's been in provisional pole for pretty much the entire session so far, but Brioni has come in late to steal away a pole. Can Yarshal find anything on what is potentially going to be his final couple of laps?
Yeah, we are really coming down to the crunch time in this qualifying session right now. 4 minutes to go, as you can see at the top of your screen, and we'll see who can really improve on their lap time here. Just coming towards the end of the first sector at the moment for Yarshal. And what's it going to be? I'm not actually getting a split time here, so he may not actually, this one might not count, or it might just come in and surprise us at the end. We're not getting any, or I'm not getting any split gaps at the moment. Yes, I am. It's 1/10 at the first sector line. He only needs 1.5 tenths, so it's looking good. But as we said earlier, the track evolution here will mean that everyone guys are just going to get faster and faster. So basically, whoever crosses the line last has got the best shot at pole, really.
Yeah, and it might just be that case of just waiting for the perfect moment, getting that final lap in, and wouldn't that be some absolutely incredible scene to you in that last final lap, the times tumbling right at the end. But we'll have to wait and see. Yarshal, though, making his way into the final section, and into turn 12 he goes, but it doesn't look like he's pushing, and I think he's just going to warm up for another lap.
He's backed out again, you're right. He's losing time rapidly now, so he's going to give this one more go. He's going to have to get a bit of space up ahead of him. He's got quite a few cars, but they're all jockeying for position here, so it's kind of a difficult one. We've got Matt Beavis in 6th position, by the way. He's just jumped up in the Audi there, showing flying the German flag there for the German brand, and just slotted in behind Pedersen, but it's a Porsche 1-4 at the moment. Alessio Picedo bringing up the rear of that little Porsche group at the front. So yeah, doing very well. Down the order, we've got all kinds of people improving, but yeah, the times really are going to fly in here. Final 2 minutes, and it really is time to start setting up for your final lap times, because there really is not that much time to go.
Page has just abandoned his lap. He's coming to the pits and he's heading out now, so he's got just over 2 minutes to complete his outlap. But aside from Page, everyone else in the top 6 are on hot laps right now, so expect to see those times changing thick and fast in about 1 minute's time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to all get very, very crazy here in a moment. Richard Schaefer's just coming over the line, by the way. He goes up to 7th place, so the Audi's looking pretty strong. I was expecting that, but the Porsches have just completely blown everyone off their feet here, it looks like. Tim Yarshal doesn't look like he's going to improve on this one. Neither does Marko Pisic at the moment, and neither does anybody in the top 5. Matt Beavis is the only one really showing any signs of life. Late on in this session, maybe these guys are just settling for their positions currently, and you're just happy with the top 5 at the moment. I wouldn't say that is definitely the case, but it's definitely a possibility that anywhere in the top 5, and these guys are just happy to let this session run out.
And here comes Beavers across the line. Will he improve? He does, but it's not quite enough. 1.2 seconds shy of Brioni with that exceptional 42.4. And Beavers, he's going to have to settle for 6. He's got time for one more lap, though.
He has indeed. We've got just under a minute now, so it's going to be very interesting indeed. And we got 2 Porsches off the road there. One of them, the Butler Pal Johannes Weiss-driven Porsche, and another one, it looks like Tim Yarshal. It looks like one of the Euronics cars, as Tiziano Brioni is going to look to take out this session here. This could be massive for the Musto crew. Wow, that really would be a feat for them, but it's only qualifying, don't forget. We have still got a 2-hour race to come, but what an accolade that is in this kind of field to be able to get on pole here. It's just a phenomenal achievement, and they're going to be very, very pleased with themselves.
One man who might not be quite pleased is Yarshal, who was on a lap, but he's had to back out. He had someone right in front of him in the final sector. He's got one chance now, 7 seconds. Will he actually cross the line in time? He's pushing, but it's going to be super close. I think he's just about done it. So, no, he didn't. He didn't get to the finish line in time. So, unless the lap timer is before the finish line, which I don't think. I think that's Yarshal done. Yes, it is. I just spotted the checker flag appearing next to his name.
That is a big disappointment for Yarshal. It looks like Brioni is on a bit of a lap of honour at the moment. He is out there. Alessio Picedo is also out there, and he's improving, but he's the only one really in any kind of position of note. You can see everybody down from 15th is just happy with their time, sat in the pit lane at the moment, and they're just going to be waiting out for the race, really, and that's probably where they've been doing most of their practice. Brioni has decided that he's had enough on this lap, but in the background, Pusado looks like he's going to try and improve on his time.
Yeah, Puskedo is pushing into the final section. Here comes. Slow it down, nice diagonal braking into the left hairpin, feed on the power. He just needs about 2/10 to jump ahead of Page. I say just 2/10, but that's much easier said than done, especially at the sharp end of the field here for the GTR 24-hour Sprint Series. And here comes Puskedo. It is enough. He goes a P3 by nearly 2/10 of a second. Good lap in from Puskedo.
Yeah, he's managed to jump up ahead of Marko Pizic, who was leading for so long in that session until he was toppled by his teammate and then toppled by everyone else. It's a Musto GD 1-3 at the moment. They've had a fantastic qualifying here, and of course we've got all the race to come. We will be back in a very short moment with the race here at the GTR 24 Sprint Series.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40x40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80x40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160x40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between 2 people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Welcome back to the GTR 24 Sprint Series here from the Hungaroring. It is 10 seconds until we go green here. You've seen the qualifying. It's Tiziano Brioni leading Tim Yarshall in a Porsche front row, and it's a Porsche second row as well. The first non-Porsche is championship leading Casper Henningsen alongside Matt Beavis, who's just ahead of his Audi teammate. Well, it's not his teammate, but it's a fellow Audi of Richard Schaefer. Here we go. The guys are on the formation lap. I say formation lap, it's a very short formation corner, really, as we come onto the front straight now. And Brioni is in control of the field right now. Tim Yarshall is going to have to react to this one. He slows them up very slowly indeed as they crawl across the line. They're going to suddenly explode into action here. 21 cars ready for 2 hours of racing here in Hungary, and we are underway. It looks like Yarshall has actually got a bit of a jump there on everybody, but Brioni has got the inside line going into turn number 1. He brakes late, he's got the inside line, as I said, and Yarshall slots in second position. Fantastic stuff from him. We'll see if Pucedo can actually hold on from those in behind, but it looks like all of them are going to come streaming past if he's not careful. A fantastic start from Matt Beavis there in the 37 Audi. He's done fantastically well, got up the inside into turn number 3 as well, and they continue to battle now as they head up the hill and towards turn 4.
Otoki hasn't got the best of runs, and now he's got Pedersen right on his tail, having a little look into the left-hander around the outside. That is risky to say the least, but he won't be able to find the move. Brioni leads from Yarshall and a Payet in at third.
Yeah, it's a Porsche 1, 2, 3, 4 still, but Pucedo's kind of holding up everybody in behind. Matt Beavis and Johannes Weiss in 5th and 6th, and Henningsen has been shuffled back a little bit here. 2 positions lost for him, and I believe there was a little bit of contact in the background. Couldn't really identify who really came unstuck, but it looks like it's been a fairly clean start up the front at least. And Richard Schaefer looking to make moves here in the Butler Pal Audi, doing very well indeed in the middle sector here as we come to complete lap 1. It's been a clean start, but it's also been a start where a lot of positions have been lost and gained.
Yeah, and I think McGregor's made a bit of a mistake. He's really dropped it down the order. Also, should point out, Johansson picked up a drive-through penalty in the number 188. So that was for a jump start off the line, so that's a big shame for him.
Yeah, it is. He's picked up a lot of positions in this race, actually. I was wondering quite how he did it, and that's probably why. He jumped the start, I'm afraid, and drive-through penalty for him as we come to complete lap 1 now. And it's still Tiziano Brioni leading. It's all single file out the front here, but Henningsen is kind of letting the front get away from me. You can see the car lengths opening up in front of him, really. And this is not good for the championship leader. We did know in the break there, by the way, that AAA Esports don't seem to be racing here today. So everybody's going to gain a lot on those guys, but Brioni in the Musto car is gaining a lot of points on Henningsen and Pedersen as it stands. If the race were to finish now, I know we're doing some very pointless early maths here, but they would gain 19 points, which would be absolutely huge this early on in the championship.
Yarshall almost had a little look down the inside into turn 5. It might be a 2-hour long race, but Yarshall does not want to waste any time. He is all over the back of Brioni, and he wants to get a move on. He's got his teammate Payet behind, and they both want to start getting away and pulling away from the rest of the field. Question is, how long can Brioni hold these two beautifully coloured blue and yellow cars behind for?
Yeah, they look absolutely fantastic, flying in formation at the moment. It's 57 heading 58 at the moment, and it's Alessio Pucedo trying to bring up the rear here, but Matt Beavis is looking pretty threatening on the back of him right now. Looks like the front 3 are trying to get away, but they're not going to be able to get away if they continue battling like this. Yarshall needs to make his move once and decisively. He doesn't need to be sticking his nose down the inside in places where it's not wanted. He needs to just get the move done, get fully alongside, and get the move over and done with in as short a time as possible.
Yeah, let's see how long it will take Yarshall to find a way past. I wonder if there might be any team orders that come into play. Maybe Yarshall will decide to let Payet have a go if he's unsuccessful in the next few minutes or so to find a way past Brioni, but he's super close. Runs a little bit deep into turn 1, and that might give Payet a chance.
Yeah, we'll see. The kind of concertina effect there, really, the domino effect, kind of gifting chances further and further down as we complete lap 3 now. It's very close up the front of the field. I was kind of expecting it to spread out a little bit more than it has, but it really hasn't spread out at all here. We've got guys within a second, all the way down to the gap between Dan Kell and Mikkel Mo, which is 9 cars, and they've all got a gap of less than a second in front of them. That's absolutely phenomenal early on in this race, but as we mentioned earlier, the Hungaroring not particularly susceptible to overtakes, I'm afraid. It's kind of very flowing, and the best opportunity down into turn 1 comes off the back of a quite difficult corner to really get a run on a car, because you're in the wake of the car in front, and it's kind of a medium speed exit to that corner, and it's very difficult to gain any leverage going down into turn 1. All of the moves need to be made on the brakes down there, really. You're not going to be able to do it very well along the straight unless the opponent in front of you makes a mistake.
Yeah, and when you think about overtaking here at Hungary, at the circuit Magyar Nagydics, you have to remember Danny Ricciardo. You've seen the number of dive bombs that her cute little honey badgers pulled off into that turn 1. That's what you got to be thinking. You got to think, how late can I go on the brakes? Where can I dive from? And Hungary's just one of those circuits where you have to start lining up the drive in front from, almost half a lap before, just try to put them off so that they can't get that good line through that final corner so that you can have that chance into turn 1.
Yeah, we talk about making mistakes here. We'll be talking about it even more next week when we travel to Bathurst. What an event that is going to be. Absolutely cannot wait for that in 2 weeks' time. I've always wanted to call a race on Mount Panorama, and finally on 2 weeks' time, we will be able to do that, and I hope you will join us for that one as well. It's going to be a phenomenal night of racing, as we are having right now here at the Hungaroring. It's going to be a slow burner, this one. We're going to have to wait and see how this one plays out, really. But they are my favourite kind of races, really. It just kind of crescendos all towards the end, where we'll have a massive explosion of action and a fantastic finale to this one, I'm sure, and absolutely can't wait.
Yeah, and Brioni and Yashel, they're now starting to just creep away from Page, who's now 1.3 seconds behind. So this is starting to look like a two-horse battle for the win, with Page, Puskedo and Beavis are battling for P3. But something that you mentioned earlier, Ewan, is how will the pit stops come into play? How much fuel will they have to throw on board? Who is saving fuel, and will the likes of the Audi and the Lexus of Beavis and Henningsen respectively be able to come back into the fight after those pits?
Well, that is a good point. That might be why the likes of Matt Beavis and Casper Henningsen and so on are waiting here. And they could be just saving a little bit of fuel. Obviously, you can coast a little bit in the slipstream if you like down the straights, but the straights aren't really long enough for that kind of effect. It's not like Daytona or Le Mans, so there's not a long straight here to really kind of coast down. But you can definitely save fuel behind cars. It's just to a smaller effect. But the interesting thing at the front of the field is that all of the cars are the same. All of the Porsches are going to be exactly the same, so they're not going to be able to gain an advantage on each other really, unless there's some severe fuel saving or lack of fuel management up there. So it's going to be very interesting in the pit stops, as we're currently seeing Richard Schaefer and Dan Kell battling at the moment. Dan Kell just pulling to the inside there, and couldn't really make that move down into turn number 1, to be honest, but he's been looking very threatening recently, and he's trying to do the Bentleys proud. Currently he's the leading of them, ahead of his Simply Race teammate Toby Lee, who's down in 13th. So the Bentleys would have been hoping for a little bit better, but they've had their day really. They were very strong at Brands Hatch, and as what happens in the BOP, you have good tracks and you have bad tracks, and it seems that the Bentley is not quite so strong around here. It's Gianni Brioni then still leading, and Tim Yarshall looking ever closer. Absolutely fantastic from him at the moment. Musto GD Esports versus Euronics. Fantastic battle to see, but the guys in behind are starting to lose this. We're just under 10 minutes gone now, and it looks like Pizic and Pucedo and those in behind are really starting to lose ground here, and really starting to drift away a little bit. But they're separating off into nice, neat little two-car groups where we can battle, and they are going to be very fun battles to watch indeed.
Yeah, they are indeed. Beavis, as you mentioned, dropping back from Puskedu, but Yarshall and Brioni just need to work together, just try to pull as big of a gap as possible. As we mentioned, AAA are not racing here tonight, so this is a big opportunity for both the Musto GD, Euronics, and even Burst Esports just to, jump ahead of AAA, or in the case of Burst Esports, extend their championship lead.
Yeah, absolutely, and they've been very strong in recent times. I actually thought that that's the team in form, really, in kind of all sim racing, especially on R-Factor 2. They won the GTR24 Nürburgring 24 hours here nearly a month ago now. It was a while ago, a few weeks ago, about 2.5. But you know what I mean. They've really been the team in form, doing very well in all competitions they enter, and well, anything they enter really. They seem to be able to win it at the moment, and they've got some very strong drivers at their disposal as well. Casper Henningsen is currently driving, one of them, of course, iRacing World Championship driver of years past, but now absolutely very, very fast on ACC as well, which is kind of the new emerging game, and there are some drivers that have picked it up quicker than others, notably Brioni, after driving on R-Factor 2 for so long, has picked this game up very well indeed, and Hani Al-Sabti likewise, but unfortunately Al-Sabti and AAA aren't here. I do hope they return for the next rounds. I hope they haven't completely quit the championship, and I hope they do return for the final 7 rounds in this season, because it would be a shame to see them go this early.
Yeah, especially title contenders like AAA. We do want to see that battle between them, Burst Esports and Muscle GD, going all the way right down to the wire. But as we say that, Puskedu, I feel, is closing in onto Page at a reasonable pace. The gap between Yarshal and Page is now over 2 seconds, and I think Puskedu is feeling that he's getting caught up a little bit behind Page here.
Yeah, there's actually a McLaren coming out of the pit lane there. That's Daniella Brambilla, who's come out the pit lane in his McLaren. And I didn't see what kind of problem he's had, but unfortunately he's already a lap down, and it seems that Brambilla's got some good pace, but unfortunately the consistency is not quite there for him at the moment. And that's really what you need in these kind of races.
Sorry to cut you off here, but Salzgard, he's actually getting attacked by Brodsgard down into turn 1. 3-way battle at the moment for P15, and Vickers looking to get his nose in. It's the only real battle that's going on right now.
Yeah, it is. It's very... It always seems that further down the order, you can find the best battling. And just look at this, Jan Brodsgaard trying to go around the outside of turn 2, but it's a long way round there. These are the 3 biggest cars out here on the circuit, the Aston Martin, the Lexus, and the Bentley. And look at how the Bentley closes onto that Lexus going up into turn number 4. But it's not an overtaking opportunity, so he's going to hold fire for now. But yeah, just look at the size and the scale of these cars. Absolutely phenomenal that these guys can actually go around a track at the same speed as the likes of a low, sleek McLaren or Porsche.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I personally am never a fan of a Bentley. I look at, the sleek design of a McLaren or a Porsche, and I think, oh, those look lovely. And then I see the Bentley, and I just think, come on, what are you doing out here? But the Bentleys are very quick, and nonetheless, we saw them performing pretty well at Zolder for round 3. And Vickers is going to try to improve the performance of the Bentley. The current highest performing Bentley is Kel, who is up in 9th place within a second of a Schaefer. So might see some battling for P8 sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say I'm pretty with you with that. As we got out for the lead, I'll get to that in a moment. Brioni defends down into turn number 2, but he's gone wide there. He just misses the apex slightly, but it didn't seem to matter because Yarshal wasn't intent on going for the cutback there, as we just shuffle back down the order to see the battles going on down the back. We've got a battle for the race lead as well, and if these guys do this too much, then they're going to see the 2 Porsches battling in behind close up, especially if Pizic and Pucedo run in formation like they have been in the last couple of laps. It looks like the top 4 might reconverge in this race, and that would be an incredible thing to see, a 4-way fight with Brioni soaking up all the pressure at the moment.
Yeah, Brioni's taking as much pressure as he can, and he's taking it on his chin. Less than a tenth separating these 2, and well, we were talking about whether Yarshal might just sit behind Brioni, whether he might just save fuel, but maybe he's just going to take it in turns, I'll do 5 laps, sit behind you, then I'll do 5 laps, and I'll try to pass you, and then just keep on doing that, just keep on putting Brioni under pressure, and just wait for that potential mistake.
Yeah, and it looks like it might be coming in the next few moments. So just coming up to 15 minutes gone in this race. He's got a quarter of his stint out of the way, soaking up this pressure. But how long can he go on for? That's the question you've really got to ask yourself. It's going to be, surely it's a matter of time at this point, unless he can find his feet a little bit. Speaking of finding his feet, Pucedo has definitely done that. He looked like he was struggling earlier on, but now he really is beginning to get these pace up here, and it's absolutely fantastic to see him doing so well now after really struggling in terms of the pace earlier on. But meanwhile, back in 15th position it is. Steven Salsgaard is still holding off Chris Vickers and Jan Brosgaard. This is absolutely fantastic. Look at these four. Absolutely battling hammer and tong as if they were battling for the race win.
Yeah, it's great to see. Vickers got past Brodsgaard on that previous lap, and now he's all over the back of Salsgaard as we make our way down into turn 1. Salsgaard is going to go defensive, and Vickers looks towards the outside.
He does. He's going to see if he can get him on the brakes or maybe go for the cutback. He's going to go for the late braking option. He swoops around the outside, but the tight line
Look at McGregor
of the Aston Martin, and now Ross McGregor's going to try and join his Bentley teammate and see what he can do as the rookie monsters. Bentley tries to get up the inside. Very late braking from the Aston Martin, probably too late as well. Chris Vickers slips down the inside, and he does indeed get through, or does he? Side by side through turn 3 as well. He's off the road a little bit. Surely somebody's going to have to yield down here into turn number 4. It's just too tight to go side by side, but they're going to go for it anyway. Goodness me, how has the Aston Martin done that? They're 3 wide off the corner. Oh, and there's finally, that was coming, you had to say. Going side by side through turn 4 almost never works, and you've just seen it there.
Oh, contact, a little bit of contact between Brodsgaard and McGregor into the tight chicane, and there's more contact. Brodsgaard just keeps his car pointed in the right direction, but that was very close.
Goodness me, this is absolutely crazy back here. We've kind of neglected these guys earlier on, but my goodness, and they put on a show, and they are doing right now. Very entertaining, but going side by side through turn 4, never really what you want, and unfortunately that wasn't actually the problem. It was going 3 wide off the corner and into turn number 5 that was actually the problem, but there you go. Unfortunate incident for them, and a shame to see the Aston Martin go round, but of Salsgaard. But that's just part of the game, unfortunately, and they may be a review.
McGregor's got a really good run into the final corner, round the outside. Oh, he takes a little look into Salsgaard, but that is going to be McGregor up into P16. Pardon me, Brodsgaard drops it down 1 place.
He does indeed. He looks like he's been struggling in recent times. He was trying to soak up the pressure of 3 cars in behind him. It was just no more for him. I'm actually surprised to see McGregor so far down in that Simple Sancho car, because he was fighting well up the order, looking on course for a podium until a late fuel stop for him and his team. He actually drove the last stint, by the way. He got into that car, but he's actually going to be handing over this time to John Munro. Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Brosgaard, having fallen down the order. But McGregor not doing quite so well, and I'm not really sure as to why, because there are plenty of Bentleys. Well, there's 1 Bentley in the top 10, so there's no reason really why he should be down in 16th position.
Yeah, he's not really able to find his feet right now. He is Mr. Ross McGregor, but you know, we saw last time out as Zolder quite a few drivers, you know, messing up that fuel strategy. I think we saw 3 at the end, just under fueling ever so slightly, and it cost them big points. You know, we're talking about podiums. So, well, hopefully this time everyone has their strategies on point, so we don't see any late dives into the pits for an extra lap of fuel. But at the top is still Brioni. He leads from Yarshall, Page, and Pesquedu. These are 2-way battles still raging on.
Yeah, there absolutely are raging at the moment. There's all kinds of 2-car battles, by the way. It's not just those guys. It's Beavis versus Vice. They're also battling quite closely, with Henningsen kind of the watching brief there. Yeah, they've got a bit of a car in behind, and there he is. 7th position for him at the moment. Dan Kell trying to soak up the pressure. I've said that too many times in the last few minutes, I'm sorry. Dan Kell with Daniel Frommelt and Sean Bennett in behind, and Mikko Mo. So, or is that actually those guys? I'm not entirely sure, because sometimes the lap cars can kind of trip up the timing a little bit here. It's a little bit confusing to work out from time to time, but it looks like actually Brambilla is in between Dan Kell and Daniel Frommelt, but Sean Bennett is definitely within this battle in the 112, and that is an Aston Martin trying to get up in front, but I believe we might have lost a car in the top 10. I'm not sure who's actually missing, because it seems that Dan Kell, oh no, sorry, it's Mikko Mo who's dropped a couple of positions, and he's really been struggling for pace. It seems to be the Lexus have been the Lexuses have been struggling the most in the early stint here, really. Not really sure as to why, but they just don't seem to have the early stint pace.
Yeah, they're not having the best of times. Just looking up towards the front, Yarshall, he's got probably one of the best runs he's got in recent time on Brioni, but again, just doesn't seem to be able to have the slipstream onto his fellow Porsche compatriot and just has to settle down for second. But I'm getting the feeling even it's a matter of when, not if, right now for Yarshall.
Well, not sure, to be honest, because track position and defending seems to be very important here. I don't think Yarshall has laid all his cards out on the table just yet. I don't think he's tried to pull out all the stops to try and get through at the moment. I think it's just too early for that, really. There's still 100 minutes to go, don't forget. And he's going to be handing over to his co-driver in a moment. I've forgotten who his co-driver is, but I'm sure equally fast. I know that Euronics team is absolutely stacked with talent up and down. It's going to be Luca Schmidt handing over to, and this is actually the Euronics cars have got 3 cars, and this is the younger pairing. They're both 16 years older, Yarshall and Schmidt. So yeah, a very young car, and they're going to possibly not quite as experienced, but they're trying to get through on Brioni at the moment, and pretty successful at being in the podium places and showing good pace, but just seems to be biding his time at the moment, really. I don't think it's that important to get through, especially when Brioni is putting down this kind of pace. It's not really that important to get through at this precise moment.
Well, whenever you do have an age discrepancy, you always want it to be the experienced driver in the front trying to defend from the young whippersnapper, and that's exactly the case here. Brioni defending from Yarshall. 20 minutes have passed so far of the GTR 24-hour sprint round 4 here at Hungary. Yarshall still tails Brioni, still waiting, still biding his time.
Yeah, it is. It's probably the smart thing to do, as I keep mentioning. It's what I'd be doing anyway. So maybe that's not the smart thing to do, but you get what I mean. Dan Kell currently heading a battle still with Daniel Fromelt and Sean Bennett, as we mentioned. But yeah, as we keep saying, there's battles just going on all over this circuit at the moment, and not least at the front of the field. There's the battle for 3rd, and there's the battle for 4th. 5th position. Yeah, it really is all happening here, and unfortunately we've seen how difficult it is to overtake here, because we've seen accidents, notably for Steven Salsgaard earlier on. That was just a bit of an unfortunate incident, but it did show actually that you can have some very exciting and important, well, not important, but you can have some very exciting and interesting battling going on around this circuit, even though it's notoriously difficult to overtake.
Yeah, and I think we might be having a battle for P14 soon as well. As Chris Vickers has been closing in onto Jimmy Wolf for quite a while. The gap is just 1.5 seconds, so I think in a couple of laps he's going to be right on the tail of the McLaren.
He is indeed. Yeah, all sorts of stuff going on in this race so far. It's going to be very close down there. Tobin Lee is kind of in no man's land, just in front. But Chris Vickers, Ross McGregor's not too far behind that battle either. Jan Brogard is kind of a little bit further down, but it's all going on. Brioni still leads then as we complete lap number 13 now. Going on to lap 14, will he have to defend down into turn number 1 here? Will Yarshall dive out of the slipstream at the last moment to go up the inside? No, he won't. He's going to stick behind for another lap, and that's the kind of example I was looking for, really. It doesn't look like he's going all guns blazing just yet. He's happy to bide his time and just stick behind for this moment, and he's just going to wait for a better opportunity later on in the race.
Yeah, and it is all just about being patient, He's still got another 30 or so minutes left of his stint, depending when that 57 car, when the Euronics want to bring him in and make that driver change. So just save fuel, maybe go for the undercut, maybe go for the overcut, and well, let's see what they decide to pull out when we do get to that stage in half an hour or so.
Yeah, we will indeed. We just went for a bit of a tight line down into turn number 5 that time. I wondered if he was going to go for it, but he didn't in the end. And that would have sparked disaster, probably. It's quite a difficult corner to go up the inside there. I know it kind of opens itself out because of the way you have to swing to the left to get the opening for the corner, but it's really not advised, as we've seen already, an incident down at turn number 5. But Yarshall looking the fastest he has been at any point in this race. He pulled 2 tenths out of Brioni on the last lap, but the gaps really aren't any of any note, because they're just nose to tail at the moment. It's better to just look at the screen and take in what's happening in front of us right now, because it is a special battle going on right now, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any signs of it letting up soon. Hopefully Well, I'm hoping so. Anyway, this is going to be a race-long battle where these two absolutely slog it out until the very last laps of the race, even with their co-drivers as well. Because they're in the same car, I think their pit stop times will be very similar, because obviously the fuel they're burning will be very similar as well.
Yeah, and it's what we were discussing earlier as well. Is Yarshall saving up fuel behind a Brioni? Well, considering how he's been pushing, you'd have to think that he isn't. But something I do want to mention that I've been spotting Yarshall doing in the last few laps is he's been taking a very diagonal line into that final corner, which has been compromising his exit speed just a little bit. So I wonder if in the next few minutes we might start to see Yarshall taking a bit more of a wider approach into the final corner. Maybe look to just try to get that slightly better drive from Brioni.
Well, if that is the case, then maybe that is just his driving style, because I saw him angling off the corner at turn 5 in a very similar way, and the corners at turn 5 and the final corner at turn 14 are very, very similar. So I wonder if it's his driving style to just kind of angle off the corner, take a tight line in, but you're right, it doesn't lend itself to a very good exit, and it means that sometimes you're not able to get down into turn number 1 very fast. So maybe he's going to have to change his whole driving style here if he wants to get through. It's certainly something that he's going to have to consider, because I can't see any other way that he's going to get through at this point.
Well, let's take a look. Brioni and Yarshall, they make their way into the final section. Yarshall getting so close to the back of Brioni into the right-hander of a turn at 12. But it's all here. So here he goes. Through the left-hander, you see Brioni gets the better drive than Yarshall once again. And there you go. There's that diagonal line coming in from Yarshall. But if he's a little bit closer to Brioni, maybe he can throw Brioni off. Maybe that's his plan. Make Brioni think that Yarshall's a little bit closer to him than he actually is, and Brioni ends up leaving the door open. Either way, Yarshall, this time around, not as close as he has been in the previous 5 or so laps.
No, he's not. It's quite interesting, the difference between these guys in the driving style. They're very interesting. The Italian versus the German, of course. Brioni being Italian, and Yarshall, therefore, the German. So, yeah, it's just very interesting to see these two guys. And they're very quick, mind you. Quicker than anybody else out there on the circuit at the moment. It was a 43.8 from Brioni, which is faster than a load of these guys did in qualifying. So he's just set a sensational lap time, and he probably didn't even notice. If you just look at down the order, when you get to kind of Dankel territory, just outside the top 10, you're already dipping into the 46s. So these two guys, clearly the class of the field right now, and that's why they've got nearly 7 seconds, if not more, over the chasing pack of Marco Pizic and Alessio Pucedo, who themselves have got a big gap over those in behind. So really, the top 2 and then the top 4 are really in a class of their own at the moment, with the top 2 just in an absolute world of their own. Absolutely nobody can touch them, it seems, right now.
Yeah, but speaking of that battle for 5th place of Beavis, a leading of Ice and a Henningsen, and this is a 3-way battle. Kell is a further 9 seconds down the road, but maybe we can see something starting to happen for P5. 3 separate manufacturers, Audi from Porsche from Lexus.
Yeah, that's an absolutely fascinating battle to watch. I do love those different manufacturers battling it out. As you mentioned, 2 German brands, and then I shouldn't have started that sentence because I don't know where Lexus is from. But there you go, 2 or 3 different
Isn't it
manufacturers.
Korean? Is it Korean?
I thought it was somewhere far east, but I didn't want to get it wrong, so I decided to back out of it. For Japanese, we're hearing in our ear, so thanks for that. So there you go. Apologies to those who know at home and we didn't. There you go.
We're really showing off our car knowledge here, aren't we?
Sensational knowledge up here right now, but unfortunately, yeah. Anyway, we'll gloss over that point. I probably won't be starting sentences like that again, of giving that performance. But anyway, we are about half an hour into this race now. It's been an absolutely fascinating race so far. Oh, dearie me, you see what I mean? It just goes very narrow into that turn number 5, normally there. So Yarshall really starting to apply the pressure here. It's been a slow burner for the first half an hour, but somebody is just turning up the gas slowly on this one, and it's crescendoing up to a fantastic finale. Make sure you don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few moments after this quick ad break.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Welcome back to the GTR24 Sprint Series here from the Hungaroring. We've just been off for our break. Fortunately, you haven't missed anything. I thought you were going to miss something because Henningsen was looking like he wanted to make a move on Johannes Weiss there. Weiss just nearly hit the back of Beavis going into turn number 1, and that's the danger you really have following a car. You really don't want to be hitting the guy in front, obviously, and when you're in a train like this, it can really open yourself up to the guys in behind, and that's what these guys are going to be avoiding. But it's very difficult to kind of attack and defend at the same time, and that is the position that Weiss is in at the moment. It's a very hard place to be.
Yeah, and Weiss, as you mentioned, you have to attack, you have to defend at the same time. When you get that little bit aggressive, you know, Henningsen's not going to say, all right, I'm going to sit back, you have your shot, then I'll have my shot. No, Henningsen's going to say, if you look for a move, I'm going to look to pass you and Beavis at the same time, and then I'm checking out of here. So, you know, we talked about before the race, Henningsen opting for the Lexus, or the team of a Burst Esport, Simplexity, opting for the Lexus, and it might mean that in the pit stops they will have to just fuel up a little bit less. So we expect Henningsen to jump ahead of Weiss and Beavis, but I think Puskedu a further 11 seconds up the road might just be out of reach.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think the Porsche pit stops are quite that bad. I think they'll be okay up there. As I said, the Porsches seem to be just incredibly fast, really, in terms of their pace. It seems that the Burst Esport Lexus, or that team, are sticking with the Lexus throughout this season. They've picked it in all 3 races so far, and obviously winning the last 2 of them. Didn't really do very well at Spa. I forgot the name of the circuit there. We started at Spa all the way back in the first round. They finished in 6th position. That's actually a lie because they picked the Audi there, but since then they've been going for the Lexus. So even though it seems not to be quite so strong around here, they seem to be sticking with it, and they seem to have found their car of choice right now, and they're going for this Lexus now, and they're going all in on it. So they want to learn this car inside and out while their rivals around them dilly-dally between different cars, which is an interesting strategic game that we have during this series. I quite like that the guys are able to change the cars each time, even though it does create some confusion up here in the commentary box. It's very entertaining to see how the different cars to and fro throughout the weeks.
Yeah, and maybe we'll be able to see Burst Esports switching up their cars again. Maybe they'll decide to go back to the Audi, as actually Vice just going a little bit wide through the penultimate corner, and Henningsen's going to get very close onto the back of the German. But again, just no real way to find a way past right now. Beavis still leads from Vice and Henningsen in this battle for 5th.
There's a very big slide for Vice down onto the front straight there. Maybe his rear tyres just going away from him just a little bit as Alexis looks to put his nose down the inside, and he looks like he might have tried to go for it. He didn't look like he was intending to there, but just where he brakes is just a little bit later than the Porsche, it seems, and the Porsche had to do a little bit of late defending there, so it's getting a little bit anxious in this group right now. There's the three of them, of course. Beavis is not really able to get away from either of them, despite the fact the Porsche and the Lexus are battling. Beavis just seems to be a little bit slower there in the Rookie Monsters Audi, and not doing quite as well right now. Even so, he's defending well, and he seems to have good straight line speed. So, and I did hear that actually talking to Hani Al-Sabti after the Spa race, that the Audi is very fast in a straight line, but he also said that they were going to be fast around Brands Hatch, and they're absolutely nowhere, so I'm not sure whether to believe him or not. I'll believe him on this occasion, because the Audi does seem very difficult to pass. We haven't seen Beavis get overtaken at all, even though he qualified around about 7th or 8th. He's made up a few positions on the start, and he's not lost any more since then. He's been defending very well indeed.
Yeah, he's been doing a fantastic job, and now with Vice and Henningsen starting to battle, this is going to give Beavis a great chance just to try to maybe just get out of that tow range. But Henningsen, he's been applying the pressure on Vice. He's been showing his nose in corners. He's making Vice know that Henningsen, he's hungry and he wants that P6 position. Maybe this time round he could have a look, but actually Vice gets a really good run through the penultimate corner.
Wow, yeah, that was impressive indeed. And Henningsen, that Lexus, I bet, to be honest, because it's such a big car, I bet it's just a bit lethargic really through that final couple of corners. And the Porsche is probably the opposite. It's quite light on its feet, and the traction is very good, as I mentioned earlier. So it's probably a big contrast there. Porsche, one of the best cars through the final sector. Lexus, probably one of the worst. Having driven neither, I can't comment fully, but it certainly seems that way from the way the cars are behaving at the moment. Henningsen probably not enjoying his time stuck in behind right now, because it seems that if they were running on their own, Henningsen will probably be faster than Vice, in all honesty.
Yeah, and it kind of comes down to that whole psychological aspect. When you're behind someone and you can see them in front, it just drags you that little bit further forward, both mentally and physically with the drag as well. So I don't know if Henningsen would necessarily be quicker than Vice, but it would be close. Speaking of being quicker than someone though, Brioni, he's actually starting to slowly eke out a gap over Yarshall. It was almost a second when they came across the line at the start of this lap, but Yarshall seems to have almost reeled Brioni back in.
Yeah, he's doing it very slowly, is Brioni. He's just taking 1/10 out of him per lap. But he's been doing it for a few laps now, so he's just slowly starting to push that margin out. It looks like he's kind of got this race under control at the moment, and he's just kind of dictating it when he wants. So he's kind of playing with Yarshall at the moment. So we'll see how it plays out. They cross the line once again to start lap 23, and now they're in amongst the traffic really. That's an Aston Martin in the background of Steven Salsgaard, I believe it is. We've actually lost a car from this race. That is Daniella Brambilla, who's unfortunately retired in his McLaren. That's very recent in fact. Lap 20 he retired, so only might have even been this lap where he has indeed unfortunately retired. But now we're starting to get into lap traffic, so Steven Salsgaard is now a lap down, and Miles Dixon will also be a lap down here, and lap traffic is going to be a problem around this circuit. The Hungaroring, not an easy circuit to overtake, even on those lap cars, so it's going to be an interesting part of the race, and who can really take advantage of this traffic as well.
Yeah, and Brioni has already got over a second of a gap to Yarshall, as Pesquedu, he has a little look at Payage. He takes a very wide line into turn 5. Also, quick update from further down the grid. Ross McGregor has actually found a way past Chris Vickers for P14, so he's now on the hunt for Lay, who's a further 12 seconds up the road.
Yeah, that is the position for 13th. It's actually quite a bit of a hunt right now. It's 11 seconds actually, closer to 12 between those two. So that's a bit of a battle going down there in Bentley land. The 3 Bentleys going on down there, with Lee, McGregor, and Vickers, 3 British drivers, I believe, in a row. They're driving British brands, so that's good to see. Well, for me anyway, because I'm British. But there you go. Moving down the back towards the front though, looks like Henningsen looks increasingly threatening here. 40 minutes into this race and he has not relinquished his pressure on Weiss at all, and that Porsche looks especially slidey through the lower speed corners and on the traction. He's just been using up those rear tyres and he's just sliding it everywhere at the moment. Beavis is not actually getting that far up ahead of him right now, but Henningsen also can't find a way through. It's a strange equilibrium right here, but it looks like just nobody can overtake anybody at the moment. And Weiss is doing just enough right now to keep Henningsen at bay, and it's probably disadvantaging Henningsen quite a lot. He could probably go a little bit faster right now, but he just can't find a way through.
No, he cannot, and as you mentioned, that Lexus not fast through the final sector, which is exactly where you need to have a pace advantage, especially if you are looking to find a move on the driver ahead. Henningsen just has to sit behind Weiss for longer and longer, and he must be so frustrated right now in the cockpit.
Yeah, he definitely will be. It's all well and good being fast in the first and second sector, but if you all lose it, or if you lose it all in the third one, then you're going to have no run down into the overtaking spots at turn 1 and 2. So you're just going to have a nightmare, and it's not going to be a very entertaining drive for you. But as we keep mentioning, we're expecting that Lexus to jump up a little bit in the pit stops. We know things do get a bit crazy during this pit stop cycle. And occasionally, unfortunately, we miss things. However, with only 20 cars here, I say only, and there's limited cars in contention, the guys have been whittled down a little bit here. So we're going to be able to keep on top of it a little bit more, I hope so anyway, because it does tend to get a little bit crazy, and the pit stops can often define the race as well, don't forget. So going to be a very interesting point coming up here. In about 15 minutes time, we're going to see the pit stops really take place, and it is going to be crunch time.
Now, Page and Pesquetto in the battle for third. They've just caught up to Salsgaard, who, let's see if he has much of an impact in this battle for third as they start a brand new lap. Salsgaard moves over to the inside, he'll back out. Page and Pesquetto will make their way up, but Pesquetto still super close to Page.
I would say that there are probably worse places you can catch a lap car, to be honest, given he's in the lead right now. Sorry, on the front straight, should I say. Catching cars on the front straight, probably not such a bad thing, really. You don't lose any time, of course, and when you've got compliant back markers, that also helps. Salsgaard did a very good job there of actually getting out the way. Despite probably being quite frustrated, he had to be put a lap down there. He was still very gracious in letting those guys through, so that is definitely good to see, and hopefully all of the cars do the same. But unfortunately, they can have an extreme bearing, and especially at this circuit where it's difficult to overtake through the second sector especially, and difficult to let cars through, I feel like those lap cars are going to play a role in these battles.
Yeah, and of course we've got those 2 big battles going on now. Page and Pesquetto for third place, and then we've got Beavis, Weiss and Henningsen in the battle for P5. Brioni, he's got over a second gap to Yarshall, and last time around he just pulled out another couple of hundredths over Mr. Tim Yarshall in that number 57 Euronics gaming car. But again, I think we're going to be seeing that first move in this battle for P5, especially with Henningsen in this Lexus. It seems to be getting that little bit quicker and quicker as the race does progress.
Well, we nearly saw it 15 minutes ago, just as we were coming back from the ad break there. It was Henningsen versus Weiss down into turn number 2. Weiss just had to avoid the Audi in front of him. It meant he went wide at turn 1. Poor run down into turn number 2, and then he really couldn't get any kind of well, he was able to defend at least, but Henningsen wasn't able to quite get through, but it looks very close down as we come down the front straight now. Henningsen looking closer than ever, but look at the straight line speed of that Audi. Even in the slipstream, the Porsche's got nothing, and now he's having to defend even from the Lexus. Henningsen's going to get a better run now with the wider line. He's going to use a bit of the curb. He's almost pushing that Porsche through turn number 1, but he can't quite get alongside in any capacity, and he can't get through. This is going to be so frustrating for Henningsen.
Beavis runs wide.
Yeah, Beavis is one wide there. He's kind of set off a chain reaction here. Very nearly, Henningsen was squeezed off the road there, and now he's going to have a run down into turn number 4, but this is not an overtaking opportunity to be having.
Well, we saw 2 cars running wide. I think Henningsen just tapped the back of Weiss there. That was close indeed. We saw 3 cars running side by side here into turn of 5 towards the start of the race, and that ended in disaster. I think Henningsen, Weiss and Beavis will have a little bit more respect for each other than that, but Henningsen is all over Weiss, and once again, just watch the back of that Porsche on the exit of the final corner. It's just momentary, blink of an eye, but that back end just steps out for a fraction of a second, and that's what really is allowing Henningsen to close right up onto Weiss heading into turn 1.
We said that this battle was going to ignite first, and that it has done. This has been absolutely fantastic to watch between these 3, and they're absolutely going at it right now for 5th position. Of course, 10 points on the line here, or an increase of 2 points at least. Now, obviously 10, 8 and 6 for these guys at the moment. We'll see in what order they come in, and even if these guys are going to be in those positions at all, they could be.
Take a look, P3, Pesquedu looking around the outside of Page, who's been forced to go defensive, but I don't think Pesquedu is going to be able to get the drive.
They've had enough of this follow the leader business now, and it's really starting to kick off here towards the end of the stints. It really is starting to ignite now. Weiss looks very close to Henningsen at the moment. Looks like he just made a little bit of a mistake out the final corner again. It definitely looks like Weiss has started to lose some of the pace he had earlier, and now he really is under pressure. But yeah, battle's really starting to happen here, and you get that sense towards the end of the stints, people are getting a little bit more frustrated, and they want to get through now rather than waiting.
Yeah, they know that there's not that much tyre life that they have to keep right now. They can start to really burn off any excess fuel that they think that they might have saved compared to whatever their strategy has indicated. And well, we know that Alexis can save fuel very, very well. We've seen Henningsen do it before, notably at Brands Hatch, which helped Burst Esports take the win over AAA. AAA not here tonight, and this is potentially going to be a big result for Burst Esports, even if Henningsen and the Burst Esports team finish down in 7th place.
Yeah, the thing they've got to worry about though is Tiziano Brioni up in front right now. I'm not sure how far they are off the championship. They are 16 points away, so they would, as it stands, they would actually take the championship lead going into the next round by 3 points. So that is pretty big. But don't forget, Brioni and Yarshaw are still battling in some kind of capacity. They're not actually battling side by side at the moment. As meanwhile for P3. Pesic looks under pressure again. Pesedo's car looks very fast in a straight line indeed. Euronix kind of struggling. The Bentley doesn't really know how to get out of the way here. He doesn't want to really intervene in this battle because it is fantastic to watch, and he's going to enjoy this battle watching in the next couple of laps, but just going to monitor that gap with P5 as well. It's kind of difficult to keep abreast of everything that's happening at the moment because everybody just looks threatening right now. Almost everybody out there on the circuit is in a battle of some sort, and that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, great to see, especially this battle for 3rd and the battle for 5th. And maybe Henningsen might have heard you there, and maybe he heard that they're about to lose a top spot in the championship, and maybe he'll start to get the harry up from his team, saying, look, we know we've got them in the pits, but let's just try to push now. You've got about 10 minutes before your pit stop. Let's do it.
Well, I'm hoping he's not listening to me, because taking strategic advice from me is probably not the best idea. But there you go, he's doing it anyway. We would like to see that battle really start to flare here, and that really would be good to see. I'm hoping that will be the case, but we'll just have to wait and see, really. Pesic versus Pesedo continues. Pesedo now beginning to kind of show the nose here, and now beginning to kind of look threatening. And Pesic looks like he might have used up his tyres a little bit more.
So
wow! that was very close down into this penultimate corner there. So late on the brakes for Pucedo, but in doing that, he's actually negated any chance that he would have had down into turn number 1. Probably not the best idea for him to actually have done that there.
Probably not the best from Pucedo there, but he needs to try to find a way through. He needs to start trying to put the pressure onto Page, especially when we are so close to those pit stops. And these two battles, Page has a moment with the back end. This might be Pucedo's chance, maybe into turn 2 he could have a little look, but he's going to look for the switcheroo, looks for the inside, but Page late enough onto the brakes and will be able to hold on to P3.
Well, this battle really is starting to get exciting now. It really is hotting up here. Pisic continues on in that 3rd position, but for how much longer will it be? Pucedo is beginning to apply the pressure, and also Johannes Weiss is beginning to apply the pressure, although he's now becoming under pressure himself. It's all kinds of things going on at the moment with Henningsen starting to look a bit threatening, but no positional change yet again for P number 5. It's quite astonishing how these guys are able to run nose to tail for this long, but still, these guys are very good defensively, and you're seeing it right now because there has been no positional change of note for quite some time. And saying that, it is still very exciting to watch here, even though there's not been actually overtaking. It's been just fascinating to see these guys really kind of put each other under pressure and seeing who can cope with it, really. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Right now, I can guarantee you Weiss is muttering to himself, if Henningsen wasn't here, I could take a wide line into a corner without Casper, you know, trying to dive me down into every corner, and I'd have this a P5. I guarantee you he's telling himself that right now.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, because it does definitely reduce the freedom that you have to try and overtake the car in front of you when you've got someone up your exhaust pipe as well. So, interesting.
Speaking of being close, look at Pucedo, the Sardinian, right on the back of Page as we head down into turn 1. Page goes defensive once again. Pucedo looks to the outside. He might try to get the slingshot out.
He will, but oh dearie me, it looks like Pisic was aware to that one, although maybe too aware, because it looks like he's given the inside line to Pucedo. He's on a very tight line though, there could be contact if he sails into the corner. A little rub in the early part of the corner, but Pucedo, after so many laps of trying, is finally through, and now Pisic is going to just try and hang on here throughout the latter part of his stint, but I can't see him doing that.
We're not done yet. Look at Henningsen, he has a little look, but Weiss will slam the door shut in Henningsen's face. Henningsen so close to Weiss into turn 2, and we almost saw 2 moves in 1 lap after seeing, well, just a lot of preparation in the last, almost hour.
Yeah, it's almost been an hour of working for this fight, or working for that pass, and it's finally come off for Pucedo, but it's not come off for Henningsen on this occasion. You can tell these guys are 5 minutes towards the end of a stint here. They don't care if they damage their cars or anything, because they've got their co-drivers in. They'll be asking why it's damaged, and the drivers in right now will be saying, I've got no idea, but obviously we will, because these guys have just been battling so hard. But Weiss just continues to pull away through this middle section and then struggles again throughout the final sector. It's very peculiar, the kind of to and fro in this battle, but interesting up the front of the field, or towards the front of the field. The gap is 2 seconds, and the gap between Pucedo and Pisic is beginning to grow now. You have to say that the number 98 is really going to start to pull away now. After that much of waiting, he's not going to let this gap go easily.
Now, Pucedo is well and truly gone, and I can be proud of my Sardinian compatriot for what was an absolutely fantastic move on Page. Page, again, it's the slightest of a mistake, but Pucedo did not give Page any chance to recover.
No, he didn't, and why would he in the end? That's the position for the taking, and he did take it indeed. So, battle for P5 still going on, a little bit more spread out here, and we've also got a battle between... or we did, between Daniel Fromelt and Tobin Lee, but Tobin Lee's in here, so the gap did extend out, by the way, before that Tobin Lee came in, but here he is. Simply Race Sancho in. Carl Leikegaard, by the way, has got into the 777 from Steven Savsgaard, so the pit stops really are beginning to begin here, if that makes sense, and it's probably not going to be too long until we see the leaders in.
I also just want to praise Ross McGregor as well, because after he got past Chris Vickers, he was about 12 seconds behind Tobin Lee, but over the remainder of the stint, he brought it down to about 6 seconds, I think it was, when Tobin Lee did dive into the pit. So good job, Weiss, though. He's run wide, and Henningsen is now on the back of him, and we saw Henningsen pretty much make the exact same mistake one lap ago, but Weiss was able to keep it on the circuit and keep Henningsen behind, crucially.
That is a problem for Weiss as well, because that's where he is strongest on the track, and he's just thrown that away with that mistake. And the Lexus's strongest part of the track is just coming up right now, and Henningsen is already up to the bumper. He doesn't need to do much catching up here. He can just apply the hurt now, and we'll see if he does indeed barge him out of the way. I'm not expecting him to. Obviously, the bumper and run will be a little bit frowned upon here, so he's not going to do that. Are we going to see a pit stop from the Porsche there? I thought, by the way, he was so wide at that corner, he was going to go for it, but not quite as fuel efficient, so they don't have quite so much flexibility on their pit stops. But here we go. Henningsen's going to get in the slipstream. Is he going to dive this into turn number 1? Very good on the brakes is this Lexus, so we'll see if he uses that to his advantage. He's going to get to the inside. He's going to try it on the brakes, but he's not quite going to go for it, as Weiss just goes around a little bit of a wide line through turn number 1, but it doesn't matter because he's got a good exit down towards turn number 2 now as well. So this battle status quo for now, but Henningsen really starting to look like he wants to get through into P6 before the pit stops.
Yeah, and there's also some really bad news for any Simply Racer Zancho fans out there. We saw Tobin Lee coming into the pits. He got a he's got a stop-go, 30-second stop-go penalty for speeding into the pit lane, and that's going to have to be served now by Mike Epps, if I'm not mistaken. So that is really, really bad news.
Yeah, it is. Mike Epps going to have to serve that penalty stop and go, and that's going to put them a long, long way down. He's going to give Ross McGregor and Simon Crane, I believe, gets into that car. Or that might be a different one. Yeah, it's actually John Munro, sorry, the other British driver down the bottom of our sheet here. So, yeah, he's going to be handing that car over, and that's going to give another position to that 23 car. The Simply Race car, the fellow, the sister team really, not affiliated with Zancho, but they are still Simply Race, so a very close connection between those guys in terms of the affiliation there. But P number 5 and up towards the front really, it seems that they're waiting a long time for these pit stops. We said the Porsche's not quite as strong on the fuel, and it's becoming apparent right now they're going to have to wait a little bit longer. But I'm also surprised that Henningsen hasn't quite come in so early. Why wouldn't he come into the pit lane now and get his teammate Jesper Pedersen into some clean air? I can't think why he wouldn't do that.
Well, speaking of Henningsen, he's going to have yet another look down the inside of Weiss, who once again runs wide. Henningsen should get the drive. There's almost contact on the exit of turn 1, but they keep it clean. And to answer your question, Ewan, to be honest, I think he's waiting for Weiss and Beavis to pair, and then he's just got to try to pump out 1-2 quick laps before pulling it in and handing over to Jesper Pedersen.
That might not be a bad idea actually, now you mention it. He's been saving his tyres in behind these guys, and you can just see from the body language of these cars that Weiss's tyres have gone off in compared to Henningsen's. He's probably been saving something, running a little bit of a slower pace than what he's used to, and he's probably been able to save his tyres just a little bit through that. Beavis looks pretty on edge, so he's going to be pitting around the halfway mark, you have to think. And he's going to be handing over that car for Team Rookie Monsters, but a fantastic drive for them so far. That's going to be Mantis Rekkes getting into that car, by the way. They're going to see if they can get their second top 5 in 2 races. It was their first points-paying position, or first points-paying finish last week at Zolder, and they're going to see if they can make it 2 in a row with another result in the top 5, and that will be sensational for them. It's been a fantastic drive from Beavis so far, and we'll see if Rekkes can equal that.
Yeah, Team Rookie Monsters currently 5th in the championship. Also, update on the front. Brioni, at some point, I think it was about 3 laps ago, he made a mistake because Yarshall, he's now half a second behind. And remember, Brioni had pulled out that gap at the lead to almost 1.5 seconds. So that's all gone down the drain. And now Yarshall can just make sure he sticks to the back of Brioni for the next couple of minutes before those pits do come in. Now, I'll be interested to see, is Yarshall going to pit before or after Brioni, or maybe just pit in on the exact same lap?
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. Well spotted there in the front of the field, actually. I didn't notice that, so that's back on at the front of the field. But we've nearly had an hour in this race. We've got the pit stops coming up very shortly. It's the GTR24 Sprint Series here from the Hungaroring, and we've got the pit stops coming up after this.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between 2 people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Welcome back to the GTR24 Sprint Series here from the Hungaroring. We've had the first hour and the first pit stops are upon us. Tim Yarshall is in, so is Matt Beavis. And now indeed that 57 has indeed left the pit lane now. Tim Yarshall going to be handing over that car to Luca Schmidt. So we'll see what the 16-year-old German can do as he just exits now. And there he is, 8th position, just in behind Dan Kell, I do believe. So, Matt Beavis is going to be handing over to Mantis Recker. So, yeah, the pit stops are upon us, and this is the real important one. Luca Schmidt versus Tiziano Brioni, and we'll see how much time Brioni loses here. You've got to say the undercut is going to be big on the tyres, but you've got to remember that Schmidt's going to have so much more fuel in the car versus Brioni, so it's going to be very interesting to see actually comes out on top in this one.
Yeah, and don't forget, it's not just that battle as well, but let's see where Weiss and Henningsen will come out relative to, well, not Matt Beavis anymore because he's just jumped into the pit, but that battle for what is effectively 5th place is going to be crucial. And now, Weiss no longer has the slipstream to defend from Henningsen.
Brioni is in, Pucedo is in, Pisic is in, so it's all happening for the Porsches at the front of the field. It seems that Schmidt and his Euronics team were trying to get the undercut there, pitting after 35 laps. The rest of them pit after 36 hit. So, well, apart from Johannes Weiss, who seems to have carried on for one more lap, as has Henningsen, which we were expecting. Dan Kell probably will do the same as long with Sean Bennett. So as we come through the final corner now with Luca Schmidt, where...
Oh, Henningsen, he's gone down the inside. He's dived Weiss down the inside into turn 1. He's pulled off the honey badger move. But here comes Weiss back, looking for the cutback side by side as they head down into turn 2. But Henningsen has the inside. He should have the job done. But Weiss in the Porsche is going to try to hang it around the outside. Surely not. He's almost made it work as now the side by side into 3. Henningsen on the outside, but I think Henningsen has finally got the job done. Great move from Henningsen.
It's been a long time coming, but he's finally got that done on Weiss. And meanwhile, at the front of the field, Pierluca Amato has got into that car, but he's behind Luca Schmidt. So we've had a change for the race lead there. It's 57 now in front of 71, and I don't think Amato has quite got the pace of Brioni here. I'm not sure about Schmidt, really. I've not seen enough of him this season to really comment on that, but third and fourth overall right now, and the net lead has changed along with the net sixth position. So we'll see if any of the pace that Henningsen can use now is going to be used to jump ahead of Rekkers, who seems to have lost a little bit of time in this pit stop cycle, but they were a long time behind the leaders anyway. But it's all getting very interesting up the front of the field now. It's an explosion of action here at the Hungaroring. And we had said it was going to be a slow burner. We said it would explode into life at the end, and it really has here, with Henningsen making a spectacular overtake on Weiss, and Schmidt playing a strategical masterclass really in the Euronics car to get in front of Amato.
And Henningsen stays out. He doesn't come into the pits, and that's a little bit interesting from my perspective anyway, because he's approaching lap cars. I think that might have been the perfect time for him to pit, but Henningsen stays out one lap longer. Weiss, he has pitted, so let's take a look where Weiss comes out relative to Mantis Rekkers, because I did catch a glimpse of Rekkers when he came out of the pits, and he was a little bit all over the place. So I think on those cold tyres, he just had a couple of moments with that back end.
He does seem to have lost a suspicious amount of time in the pit lane. I'm just trying to get the gap to Leon Otoki up in front of him, but it's a little bit strange right now, you understand, because everyone's making pit stops, so the lap times are all out of whack, and so are the gaps. So it's kind of a bit difficult to work out at the moment. But Rekkers is just coming through turn 11, at the moment. We'll see what he can do, really, about Weiss or whoever's getting into that car. I believe they had a swap of drivers at some point. So it's Philipp Matzik getting into that car now. The German, again, another old German car, as is the other Butler Power car. So I can presume that their whole team is. As Weiss is going to come out of the pit lane in a short moment. And we're going to see where Rekkers is as he comes down the pit straight now. This is the battle for next sixth position, and we'll also see where Henningsen gets his way into this. Weiss or Matzik leaves the pit lane now, and there he is on the left-hand side. It looks like the Porsche has actually jumped that out.
Please respect blue flags. Message to all drivers, please respect blue flags.
And that race control is 100% directed towards one of the back markers who was just in front of Henningsen. Henningsen caught them into turns 4 and 5, and I think he lost almost a second worth of time. And Henningsen, he stays out once again.
Yeah, that fuel tank on the Lexus must be big. We said it's a big car, but it's got a big fuel tank to fit in it apparently, and that's why they're able to make their pit stop so much shorter. They're approaching an hour and 10 minutes on this stint, which is quite remarkable really, and something that you don't really see in SRO races in the real world, mainly because they limit their stints to a mere 55 minutes, which is a bit of a shame, but it's the way the rules work, unfortunately. And they're really stretching these guys. It's just showing what you can actually do on a tank of fuel here. It's a remarkable amount of time that these GT3 cars go for. But meanwhile, look at this, 8th position, and Philipp Matzik doesn't look quite as confident on these new tyres as Rekkers does. Look at him go down the inside now into turn number 12. It looks like an easy move for the Audi. Despite the Porsche seemingly being the stronger car on this circuit, Matzik looks completely unsettled.
Yeah, maybe it's just the cold tyres on this Porsche, but Matzik, that is unfortunate for him, and Rekkers had an extra lap, and now, well, he has to do it all over again. That advantage that they gained in the pit stops to jump ahead of Mantis Rekkers and that number 37 car, well, it all has to be done once again. Henningsen, he stays out, and let's see if he comes into the pits this time round.
Yeah, well, just wait and see. It's been a long time. This will mean he will have gone about 4 or 5 laps longer than the first pit stops in this race. He's just coming towards turn 13 at the moment, coming up on a bit of traffic. One of the Aston Martins battling with another Lexus, I believe that is, and it is indeed. That's probably Ralph Pieringer. He carries on for another lap now, so Henningsen is stretching this an awfully long way, and I didn't think that he was actually going to come into the pit lane at the moment, because Jesper Pedersen is currently chatting to race control. He's not even concentrating on what his stint's going to be, he's just currently chatting in race control at the moment, probably asking about something. So, wow, what a long stint this is from Henningsen.
Well, Henningsen, he just did a 44.5 this time around. His last lap was a 45.5, but that was due to that blue flag incident that you heard race control coming over just to notify everyone to respect the blue flags. But let's just compare Casper Henningsen's time to the people he's battling, which is Mantis Rekkers and Philipp Matzik. Records did a 45-1 that last time around. You got Primavera and Otoki up ahead. They're doing 44-6s and 44-3s. So Henningsen's not losing much time compared to them, and he is on, well, what is a much lighter tank of
Need a bit of engineer.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite phenomenal at the moment. Just in case you're wondering why the order is a little bit out of whack at the moment, or out of kilter.
It's simple math.
As we're approaching 1 hour 10 stints in this race, it's quite phenomenal for some of these guys.
Yeah.
Richard Schaefer in the Butler Palmer.
Let's see where we end up.
We
haven't practiced much focusing on Le Mans, so
it's the only way you can try and do anything like
it's not limited to Lexus. Richard Schaefer pulling that Audi an incredibly long way.
Yeah, and that is one of 2 Audis. Mantis Records in that other Audi. So I guess the Audis can go a fair distance as Henningsen passes another lap car. Let's just see what this lap time is looking like and whether Henningsen will finally dive into the pits. It looks like he might. No, he stays out once again.
This is unbelievable. This really is unbelievable. As Jesper Pedersen was just asking about something there, but he's currently left now. He's finally left race control, the race control room. So maybe he'll be getting into the car soon, which would be it'll be good to see him there. The GT Academy, finalist. So he's a very fast driver, and we'll see what positions he can make up. Although I can't imagine he's going to be able to do much about those Porsches.
Henningsen almost just cuts up a back mark, and I'm not sure if that's a case of the back marker not getting out of the way, but Henningsen almost got a clip there, and well, maybe this is a case of he just messaged into radio control from a burst esports, says, hey guys, I've got 2 laps of fuel remaining, how long do you want me to stay out? And they said, oh well, Jesper Pedersen, he's talking to race control, you need to stay out for another 4 laps, mate.
Yeah, it's quite a phenomenal extension of the stint there. That, by the way, the car that Henningsen was just overtaking there is actually the new driver, the driver change for this race. That's Casper Hugard, who was taken over that car in what would have been Lars Ugard's. Oh dearie me, there's a bit of an accident there just as we were talking about them. The first time we've concentrated on that 188 all race, and unfortunately they've become unstuck. They're down into 19th position now, but yeah, that's Casper Hugard taking over that car instead of Lars Ugard, which is very confusing, but the kind of similar sounding names there, but there you go. And another lap for Henningsen. So this is just remarkable at the moment. We're approaching 40 laps. We're actually approaching, this is going to be his 42nd lap on this stint, which is just remarkable.
I'm not going to lie to you, Ewan. If I was if I was Jesper Pedersen, I'd be getting a bit insulted. I'd be thinking, what, does Henningsen not think I can do by jumping the car?
Yeah, well, when does the fair share rule come in this? I don't know what the rules are. How long does each driver have to drive here? Is it 45 minutes? Because if it is, then he's going to have to be in at the end of this lap. So, well, there's no fair share rule. They just have to
be
make
honest,
a driver
Ewan,
change.
I'm fully expecting right now to see what was it, a Silverstone, the thing that Schumacher pulled, where he served his drive-through penalty on the last lap. Henningsen, with like no minutes remaining, will just dive into the pits, get the driver changed, and Pedersen will just cross the line and they'll take the win.
Wow, that would be something. I can't imagine they'll be going 2 hours on the fuel though. I know the Lexus has a big fuel tank and it's quite efficient, but he's losing time here, by the way. This is another Lexus versus Bentley ballot. Oh no, it's an Aston Martin. Just up in front of us here. This is Perringer versus Anderson, I think. So the number 60 Euronics car actually holding up and helping some of the Euronics cars in behind, notably Luca Schmidt and Leon Otoki. So yeah, interesting. Richard Schaefer's in, by the way. Mikael Moe has also been in as that Lexus looks to make moves. Dearie me, this is now getting a bit costly for Henningsen, and they're really not respecting the blue flags at the moment. I know they're in a battle right now, but they do need to get out the way of the race leader. This is the problem when you run this late. You get caught up in this traffic. He goes around again, and he's going to have to negotiate these battling cars, which is easier said than done.
Yeah, he really is, and you know, Henningsen, he must have put so much fuel into that Lexus, and you can't blame him for wanting to use up all of it, but just come in the pits and put a little bit less fuel in as Piringa. He just doesn't realize there are blue flags going on as he goes down the inside of Anderson. Henningsen just wants to get going and get out of this traffic.
Goodness me, this is thick traffic at the moment, and that number 60 is really not being very helpful. He finally gets out of the way there to the right hand side. Although he's going to fight this, he's going to try and go around the outside for some reason. He's still going, but finally tucks back into line there, and wow, that's some team play there for Euronics. But meanwhile, Richard Schaefer has handed over to Alessandro Biazizo in that number 557 there, but they've got to stop and go for 30 seconds. So as did Mike Epps, he's going to have to serve one as well as Biazizo, as is Mikkel Moe, who's needs to do a driver change and a drive through indeed. That's still Mikkel Moe in that car. I wonder if that's a bit of a glitch there, because surely they wouldn't be making 2 stops in this race if they can help it.
Well, Schmidt just lapped Hugard, and sorry to cut over to this battle for a second, but Hugard is now taking a while to get out of the way from Pierluca Amato. And look how far Schmidt has pulled as a result. The gap must be almost 2 seconds, and Amato must be fuming.
Yeah, but it's the ebb and flow of the traffic really, and it looks like Hugard was trying to get back down the inside there, but he didn't go for it. Wow. I mean, it's going to ebb and flow throughout this race. There's going to be traffic that disadvantages some and then advantages others at different parts of this race. So it's going to be very interesting. But just think at how short this fuel stop is going to be for this Lexus right now. He continues on for his 44th lap on this stint, and it's going to be a very, very short stop, you have to say, for Henningsen. It's going to be like 10-20 seconds shorter than those around them. Are they even going to take tyres here? Is it even worth taking tyres? Are they going to cut out a tyre stop completely as well? That really would be phenomenal.
Well, if they did that, Henningsen, he must have absolutely managed those tyres beautifully. I mean, to be honest, maybe they just won't put fuel in. Maybe he's got enough fuel to get to the end. They just need to do the driver change. But Henningsen will come in when his arms start to feel a little bit tired.
I bet his arms are feeling tired right now, but he's kind of driving through the pain at the moment. It's just a phenomenal drive from Burst Esport, and just another phenomenal performance from them. They've just been all over sim racing in the last few weeks. If you'll excuse the pun, burst into my consciousness the other month. Not really a well-known team in my eyes until very recently, really. I know they've been around for a while, but they've kind of really burst onto the scene. I'll stop with those now, sorry. Nick actually suggested I did. I can't remember what he said though. He said we'll see if anyone else can burst their bubble because they've won the last 2. And thanks for that one, Nick. That was a good one as well. All the kind of burst and puns have been made, and we'll stop making those now. As Henningsen comes over through the penultimate corner, we'll see if he finally pits, and he does indeed. There we go. Finally, 44 laps in that car, and he's finally going to let Jesper Pedersen have a go.
I mean, Pedersen didn't even get to do qualifying.
I know. He's been truly. He's not been allowed to drive very long in this race, has he? So there they are. He's just going to pull right now into his pit box, and we'll see where indeed he comes out. But Lucas Schmidt is going to take the lead of this race. He's got just under a second, or just actually over a second there, now to Pierluca Amato in that battle for the lead. Daniele Primavera has taken over from Alessio Pucedo. He's in net 3rd position now, and Leonard Toki is net 4th. But we'll just wait and see where Pedersen comes out here, because this is going to be a very short stop.
Well, still in the pits, is still waiting, but how much more fuel needs to go into that Burst Esports Simplexity car? Still in, and there goes Primavera and Otoki past. Henningsen will drop it down into P5, and now we just wait for Mantis Rekus.
Yeah, we will be. I don't think Rekus will be able to get up in front of these, but we'll see, really. There we go. Pedersen is rolling now. He's got a very short exit. He's almost able to almost immediately release the pit limiter. Now, where is Daniele Primavera in relation to him? He's actually side by side with one of the Lexuses, but not a Lexus of note, I'm afraid. So Leonard Toki has gone up the road, and he's gone up the road by a very long way indeed. Where is Mantis Rekus? Well, he's not really that close to yes, Casper Henningsen. Casper. Oh no, that's not even Casper Henningsen anymore. It's Jesper Pedersen. So excuse me. It's still written there on the name, but it's not actually in reality. It's Pedersen there. Oh, big slide there for Philip Matic. He was getting very close to Mantis Rekkers, but as soon as he saw that opportunity, he couldn't get through, and now he's made that big slide. He's going to have to do all that work again.
I tell you what, that 556 Porsche has been really light on that tail end. We've seen it time and time again, most notably on the exit of the last corner when it was at Casper Henningsen on the back. But, well, now Matic's on the helm of the car, still getting some of those issues.
188, warning car 188, ignoring blue flags.
Oh no, that's not a good sign. And well, 188, that is Casper Hugard, who's down in 18th place, and they had the drive-through penalty at the start, then they had the spin at the start of their second stint, and now, you know, ignoring blue flags. And I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, for Amato.
Yeah, indeed. I'm just a little bit concerned, by the way, at Mikael Mo, who's in the pit lane again here. I'm not sure who he's supposed to be handing over to, but it seems that it's not really working for them at the moment. So that's a shame. I'm trying to find them. He's supposed to be handing over to Michi Hoyer, multiple FSR World Champion or World Championship race winner. He's actually been overtaken now as well by Hansen. I believe that's their first stop, because Jesper Wim Hansen actually started the race for those guys. So that's a battle in the pit lane. Oh no, it's not, because they're a lap apart. So there you go. But yeah, a couple of guys with a bit of issues, and there's a tail of issues down the back of the order. It's getting a bit more spread out now, but it doesn't mean that the battles are going to go away or come and go with any less frequency here.
And Pedersen, he's 29 seconds behind Otoki, but fresher tyres and, well, fresh out of the pits. What do we think, Ewan? Do you think he can close it in?
Well, I don't think so, to be honest. He's got a long way to go. He's got nearly 30 seconds to catch up. And there's maybe 30 laps left. Oh, okay, well, not anymore, but when the guys came out, or the normal guys came out, there were 30 laps to go. I really don't think he's going to be able to take 2 laps or 2 seconds out per lap. I think even though there are a lot of corners around here, a lot of places where tyres pay dividends, I just don't think he's going to be able to get up to the back of any of those cars in the top 4.
Well, we'll keep an eye on lap times. Pedersen hasn't put in a lap time, obviously just come out of the pits. Otoki, though, he's been putting in a 44.3, as has a Daniella Primavera, who is in third for that number 98. But I think we need to keep an eye on Pierluca Amato, because he is now within a second of a Luca Schmidt. And remember, that gap was almost 2 seconds after the incident with Casper Hugard, who cost Amato a fair chunk of time a few laps ago.
Yeah, indeed. It seems that Amato, after criticising him earlier, he's actually a bit faster than Schmidt. So, although saying that, the 57 or any of the Euronics cars haven't really been in a position to win any of the races so far. They've been kind of there or thereabouts. They were doing very well at Spa, and then the Schmidt car here, currently leading, had issues with the driver changes, and unfortunately, they were running Audis back then, but unfortunately they had a few issues in terms of spins as well, but they've not really been able to show what they're made of so far. So I believe we've had driver swap changes in this race as well. Richard Schaefer has not been able to drive a change to Michi Hoyer. Is that right? No, sorry, but Mikael Mo's supposed to be handing over to Michi Hoyer, I believe. So unsure as to actually who's unable here, because Richard Schaefer's not here anymore. Because he handed over to Philip Matic, so maybe it's Mo and Hoyer who are having a bit of issues. Not really sure at the moment, but it looks like Hansen is also struggling to change at the moment. So kind of a strange one, but unfortunately this game has only recently implemented driver changes, so it's just a few issues early on, but I'm sure they'll be ironed out soon.
Matic is closing in onto Mantis Rekkers, and this is the battle for 6th place. Last time round, Rekkers actually had a bit of a moment with the back end on the exit of turn 3, and Matic, well, I'm sure he'll be remembering that mistake from Rekkers and will know exactly where to put the pressure on the Audi driver.
Yeah, don't forget Schaefer, sorry, not Schaefer, Matzik's teammate here, no, it was actually it was Hans Weiss, sorry, who was really struggling to get through on that Rookie Monsters car driven by Matt Beavis at the time, and so really Weiss is not going to be able to offer him any tips as to how to get through here. He's just going to be like, well, good luck, because I couldn't manage it. Hopefully you can, but it's so difficult when the Audi is so strong in a straight line, and the straight lines are really where you need the power, especially around a circuit like the Hungaroring. It's just so difficult to pass, and we'll probably see, for the last 35 minutes, we'll probably see Rekus defending from Matzik, and Matzik having very limited opportunities to get through.
Yeah, it's more than likely, but I'm sure Weiss, if he does have to offer tips, he'll be saying to Matzik, well, at least you don't have Casper Henningsen looking to dive bomb you every single corner.
Yeah, indeed. Ralph Peering has just come out the pit lane, by the way, right in the path of Pierluca Masso, who's again been disadvantaged by a lap car. So not really sure what's at play there, because Peering, I'm not sure why he's pitted again either, but or he may have been actually letting some cars through on the pit straight, because I didn't ever see him in the pit lane, so maybe not, but an interesting one there. Not really sure what that's all about, but we'll go back to Mantis Rekus versus Philip Matzik, because this looks like it's the closest battle, and to be honest, they look like they're the most likely to be changing in the next few laps.
Yeah, also, just to point out, if everything finishes as it is, Musto GD will be leading the championship by 1 point over Burst Esports Complexity. So, well, we're going to be having an absolutely thrilling title battle when we do head to Bathurst at Mount Panorama. But still got time yet for things to change, especially with Pierluca Amato. Well, he was closing in on to Schmidt, but he started to fall back a bit. The gap now 1.7 seconds.
Well, of course, if Amato does overtake Schmidt, he's going to gain an extra 7 points, which is going to be pretty massive. I believe that if he wins the race, he's going to be 1 point behind. But currently, as it stands, he's in second place, and so it would be 8 points. Yeah, so if he takes the win, he will be
60, ignoring
championship leader. Just going to redo the maths on that. It's 16 points between those two. So if he takes how it is currently, he's going to gain 8 points, which is going to mean an 8-point gap. Still in the favour of Burst Esport, but if he wins, you're absolutely right. He's going to take that championship lead, and he's going to really shrink it down to just 1 point, and that is a very exciting prospect indeed.
And we just heard the race director, Nick Newcomb, coming on saying, warning for car 60. That is Peringa, who you pointed out, Ewan, was presumably getting out of the way of drivers on the start-finish straight, but clearly he had held them up already by a little bit too much. Peringa down in 10th place, so we'll be picking up that lone point as things stand, and he's about 4.5 seconds ahead of Anderson in 11th.
Well, the problem came really for Peringa was when he sat on the apex down to turn number 1. He had Amato right behind him, so Amato had to go right round the outside through turn number 1, and then he had to take a narrow line into turn number 2 as well, because they were effectively battling. I'm not sure if Peringa was confused who he was supposed to be battling, but it seemed to be that he was actually battling that car, so it's a bit of a strange one really. But Amato lost a bit of time, and he's going to just have to reel Schmidt in again, and that's going to take something out of his tyres, and that's not going to be enjoyable for him, as it looks like the Mantis Rekus car just having to defend a little bit. But look how strong that Philip Matzik's car is at slow speed. It really is quite astonishing, but that Audi on the straight lines has just got absolute pace over the Porsche in behind, and it's really hard for them to do anything about it.
Yeah, Matzik, well, I'm sure he was watching his team as Rekus once again loses that back end through turn 3, but Matzik, he saw his teammate Weiss on the back of a Beaver in that Team Rookie Monsters car, and I'm sure he would have been thinking, if I'm in that same situation, how do I find a way through? And no answers.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40 mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40 mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GTR 24-hour sprint series here at round 4 from Hungary. And in absolutely incredible fashion, Pierluca Amato has a drive-through penalty, and he's just about come out of the pit. And just trying to see, he's come out right behind Primavera by a few seconds. So this is absolutely crazy scenes in the final half an hour, and it has practically gifted Lukas Schmidt the race win. But we do have a battle for what is now P2, with Primavera in a second, ahead of Amato, with Otoki right on the back of the number 71 car.
What a strange turn of events this really has been. It has effectively, we don't want to give him the win just yet, or commentators curse him, but he's now leading by 25 seconds. Lukas Schmidt is going to be cruising at this point. Daniela Primavera could be under pressure late on, but Pierluca Amato, drive-through penalty, and now this has really hotted up the battle for second position, as if these battles really needed any more spice. We've now got another car to throw in the mix here. It looked like Leon Otoki was actually catching Primavera anyway, but now the three might converge on each other, and this will be an absolutely fascinating watch for the final few laps. It's an all Porsche affair at the front, but it's still absolutely great to watch.
Yep, 4 Porsches at the front, so no one can say there's an Audi that is just faster on the straights, which I'm sure Matsik is saying about Mantis Wreckers right now. He's still within a second of Wreckers, but just can't find any way through. And Jesper Pedersen still sits in 5th place in the Lexus. He's in no man's land, 29 seconds behind Otoki, and about 6-7 seconds ahead of Wreckers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Wreckers, by the way, still battling with Matsik, so that's still going on. There's also battles going on down the order, don't forget. I believe that, oh no, that's not quite so right. I believe that actually, up the front, is actually the best battles going on in the whole field. We've seen Mike Epps back into the pit. Oh, sorry, no, Mike Epps is the one that's gone, actually. So that's unfortunate. We're down to 18 at the moment, but Mikkel Mo's having, or has had issues. He's out, and I don't believe that they've made a driver swap down at number 12, the number 12 crew, the McLaren there. I don't think they've made a driver change yet. I haven't seen anybody else in that car. I'm just going to check who's supposed to be driving that car, but I don't believe there has been any kind of driver change for that McLaren crew. So we'll just wait and see, really. It's supposed to be Jimmy Wolf getting into that car, but I haven't seen him yet. I saw him earlier on, but I don't think I've seen him in the race.
Yeah, and just getting apparently some notifications about that car 188, which is a Casper Hugard. Apparently they have some damage to their mirrors, which is just making things a little bit difficult with spotting the leaders when they are coming to lap them. So hopefully that won't cause any more of an issue in the final 25 minutes.
I don't want to be a bit cynical here, but doesn't that sound like the greatest driver's excuse you've ever seen? I'm not entirely sure. We'll believe them for now, but it seems a bit strange that that particular part of the car would be damaged, especially when you've got a mirror inside your car anyway, or at least a screen. A backwards facing screen, so interesting, but there you go, that's probably why. And if that is the case, then that definitely would explain some of the holding up that has been going on. But speaking of holding up, Daniele Primavera is really in the thick of it right here. He's got a couple of cars in between himself. Well, he's about to have a couple of Aston Martins between himself and the chasing Porsches. I believe this is actually Lycagard versus Hugard in a battle for 16th position, as it looks like. Yes, maybe. Or just get on board with one of them and see, really, if it is one of them. No, it's not. It's not Hugard, isn't there? Trying to work out which is the other Aston Martin there, but I can't quite. for now. It must be
It's
Anderson.
Lykegaard and Anderson.
Right, okay. Yeah, there you go. There's the two that are currently battling, but the Porsche's really having to battle their way through this traffic, and catching them in the middle sector is probably the worst place you could possibly do it.
Indeed, so Anderson will get out of the way. Amato will pull through, as will Otoki. And last time round, Amato closing by half a second onto Primavera, but I think that's all going to change this time round, now that Amato and Otoki have had to get through these back marker Astons.
Yeah, the gap's just extending a little bit. Primavera's got a bit of breathing space, and he's still got Lykegaard in between himself and these two. So it's Amato versus Otoki. Otoki took over from Marco Pisic, by the way, if you weren't, or if you've been away for half an hour. That's the driver change that's taken place there. Obviously, all these guys have taken over from their fellow teammates now, and well, everyone apart from Hansen down the bottom there. I don't believe they've got it working though, so they may well be disqualified at the end of this race, although it won't matter because they're currently running around in last position, but that doesn't really matter too much to them. They're having fun out here, and that's the kind of essence of this series, really, just to have fun really and get to the end of the race. It's still an achievement, and it's still fun worth having here, even if it's just driving around a couple of laps down.
Yeah, and Amato, that last time around, he closed in at 3/10 onto Daniella Primavera, so he is still catching, just needs to get past the Lykegaard final back marker between himself and Daniella Primavera, and the two Italians can then start to really hunt each other down.
Yeah, that will be exciting to see indeed. The Italians often flamboyant in their driving style. We'll see if that is the same here. I've not really seen enough of Amato to really gauge that, but he did indeed fall through the field a little bit, actually, at Brands Hatch. After Brioni, his teammate, was leading, but look at Otoki there. Real big held up, and Lykegaard didn't exactly do much wrong there. It's just difficult to get out of the way through the middle sector, although it has extended this gap now. Just going to get a real gap between Amato and Primavera. It's 3.5 seconds, roughly 3.5 seconds at the moment. I don't know if he's going to have enough laps to catch here, because the lap times are very close between everybody.
Yeah, it's very close indeed. Let's take a look this time around what the difference is between Daniella Primavera and Pierluca Amato. Again, if it's another few tenths, I think there is a chance that Amato can close into Primavera on those final few laps.
Indeed, he comes over the line now. What are the lap times going to be? It was a 44.8 for Primavera and a 44.8 for Amato, so look how close they are at the moment. Just incredible to see these two guys are on the absolute limit right now. Otoki was actually the fastest of the three on that occasion, and indeed Pedersen was the fastest guy on the circuit altogether, but he's still roughly 30 seconds behind. Now looking further back towards P6, Rekas versus Maxic is still going, but unfortunately it looks like Maxic won't be able to get through just for now.
And it all comes down to Matzik's opening laps in that Porsche. Just wasn't able to get the tyres up to temp quickly enough, and Rekas was able to find what was a narrow window and find a way past Matzik. And then since then, he's just kept the Porsche at bay for the remainder of the race. And well, another 20 minutes to go, and you'd expect Rekas to be able to continue to keep Matzik behind.
You would do, especially with that Audi straight line speed at the moment, so we'll see how it plays out throughout the final part of this race. But currently looking on board with Leon Otoki, or I am anyway, I don't know if you at home are, but there you go. Currently coming on a lap car, one of the Lexuses, probably going to be Michael Bernberg down there in 15th position. Now I doubt it's going to be all Ralph Piringer in the 60, but they passed him pretty recently, so...
It is Piringer.
Oh, it is Piringer. Should have been... yeah, I was right the second time, but never mind. Of course, because Amato, despite having to deal with him earlier, has pitted, so or gone for that drive-through, so he's come out back behind him again. So that's why he's having to overtake him again, and he's going to be having flashbacks to last time. So hopefully, Piringer gets out the way a little bit more sensibly on this occasion.
Well, Amato will get a nice little drag from Piringer, and Amato pulled out another 10th over Primavera, but Piringer will just get well out of the way on the outside into turn 1. Amato will get through cleanly, and Toki will follow through as well.
Yeah, indeed. pretty clean manoeuvre from everybody there, so that's good to see. But we've got a whole new set of maths to do here, because we've got a whole new set of championship circumstances, really. Pierluca Amato now has dropped a further 3 points, which means they're only gaining 5 on Jesper Pedersen, which is not that great for them, really. Their gap would, at the front of the championship, would close to 11 points between Musto and Burst. However, this is a poor track for the Lexus, really, and to only be gaining 5 points at where the Porsche is strongest, and Amato and Brioni seem to like the Porsche. They've picked it once already in this championship. Well, they're going to be very disappointed that they've gained only 5 points on Pedersen and Kenningson, even though the Lexus, you have to say, has been pretty poor today.
Yeah, the Lexus are not quite up to standards. Obviously, Pedersen is in one for the Burst Esports Complexity team, and then the other Lexus is being piloted by Piringa. He's down in 10th place, just got lapped by Amato and Otoki. So, yeah, Lexus is not up to scratch, but then again, well, everything seems to be getting completely outmatched by the Porsches tonight.
That is true. 1 to 4, as you can see in the top left-hand side of your screen, and Philip Matzik, the 5th and final Porsche, only 7th, so all 5 of them within the top 10. You've just seen a really, really dominant car here, and nobody else seems to really be able to stop them. Mercedes have taken a race win in this championship so far. 2 Lexus race wins, of course, as well, with that Burst Esports number 95. Sorry, number 94, should I say. So that's 2 wins to Lexus. It looks like it's going to be a win for Porsche as well, unless Pedersen can find 1 minute out of the bag. It really is going to be a cruise home for Schmidt. He's got 25 seconds at the moment, and you've got to say it's been a deserved win. They applied the pressure to Musto at the whole of the first stint, bided their time, and then went for the undercut on the pit stop strategy. The tiny bit of fuel they saved allowed them to get out in front, and in the end, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because Musto got a drive-through penalty. Not sure what that was actually for, by the way, but they managed to get one anyway, and it wouldn't have mattered. So Lucas Schmidt is just going to get to enjoy these final 16 minutes, you have to say.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the drive-through was. I just looked at my screen and I saw, oh, it's a drive-through. I wonder who's got that. And then it was shock horror. It's the 71 car of Musto GD. And I think it might have just been for track limits, to be honest, but maybe race control can confirm that one for us. But Lucas Schmidt leads the way, Daniella Primavera in second, with Pierluca Amato in third, and Amato has been closing in, but it's only a 10th every lap, and the gap is currently at 2 seconds between the 2 Porsches.
Yes, it's they're kind of equidistant from each other at the moment, these 3. You can see on your screens at the moment. They're very close together. Daniele Primavera, Pierluca Amato, Leon Otoki. By the way, I was thinking earlier, Leon Otoki's name doesn't seem very German, does it? So I wonder where else his name comes from. It's a bit of an interesting one, that, because as I said, it doesn't sound very German without being too stereotypical. It doesn't. I wonder where that comes from. So, but there you go. But the second and third at the moment look very Italian at the moment. Very nice names to say as well, by the way. Especially Daniele Primavera. I don't know. I quite like saying his name. So I kind of reel it off more times than I probably need to. But there you go. It's Italians and Germans at the front of the field at the moment. They're currently hogging the first 4 places, and there's a lot of Danes in this series, as you might expect. And also, but unfortunately, they're not really showing very well, are they? The furthest forward of them, Jesper Pedersen, in 5th position, which is a little bit surprising, really.
Yeah, and well, I'm half Italian, so I can help you out with some of the Italian names. The German names I can't do anything, but I think you're going to have to go to our producer for the Danish names.
Yeah, we can. I'm going to have no trouble with the Danish names of the people working on this series. Peter and John, of course, both Danish themselves. Nick might not be much use in terms of Danish names, but there you go. I can handle the English ones, which is fine. The furthest forward of them, John Munro, in 8th position at the moment for the number 23 Simply Race Zancho car. They're doing pretty well at the moment. Finished 6th at Brands Hatch. They finished. Where did they finish? I swear they were further forward in Zolder as well, but they didn't even manage the top 10. So that's a bit of a strange one. Yeah, apparently they didn't even get a top 10, so that's a bit of a shame. But there you go. Not a great day for the British drivers, I'm afraid. So there you go. But I'm sure not too many people watching this will be that disappointed about it. But there you go. The battle between 6th and 7th is kind of extending as well. It looks like Amato just getting up the inside of a McLaren there. That's got to be Hansen, because it's the only McLaren out there. And it's so interesting to see these cars just to and fro. The Porsche's strong around here. The McLaren looked very strong last week, and 2 weeks ago. But the round before that, Brands Hatch, it seemed to be the big cars like Aston Martin, Lexus and Bentley that were the fastest. It's just so fascinating to see these cars to and fro and get better and worse throughout this season.
I guess we could say then, those bigger cars like the Bentleys, as you mentioned, maybe just quicker on those high-speed tracks like Brands Hatch, a lot of fast-paced corners, especially on the back of the circuit. And maybe that's just where they can really, really shine.
Yeah, indeed. I have to say that I'll go back to your point earlier, actually, because I didn't really get to say anything about this. It kind of exploded into action as soon as you finished saying it. But the Bentleys and the bigger cars don't really have the quite send the pull for me either. If I'm completely honest, I'd much rather take a Porsche or something like that. Really, because you could probably take the kids to school in the Bentley, really, couldn't you? It's just a bus. You could probably take a whole class to school. Actually, it's so big. Really, it really is a huge car. It's hard to understate that. But unfortunately, we were. I don't even know what I'm saying here. Unfortunately, Bentley have actually pulled their factory efforts from GT3 and Intercontinental GT Racing, which is personally a bit of a shame, because it's always nice to see more manufacturers at the fore of GT3, but unfortunately from now on it's only going to be Bentley Customer Racing, which is a real shame, I think, because it certainly brings in a lot of fans as well. They're very popular.
They are indeed. But just want to give an update on the racing for a second. I mean, as much as I love discussing Bentleys with you, Ewan, because Pierluca Amato is really, and I mean really, closing in onto Primavera. 4 tenths last time round as that's the back market getting well out of the way of Amato. 11 minutes remaining, and I don't want to rekindle some old foes, some old nemesis, and maybe some PTSD for someone, but this is about the time where we saw in Zolder people starting to come into the pits because they had underfueled their car, and obviously we hope that no one has underfueled, but we should probably still keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, if you see anyone pitting at this stage, it's either for damage or fuel, and we'll probably see them if they get damage, and we'll probably notice, but if they've run out of fuel, then that really is a disaster. So yeah, we'll see at this stage. But Amato doesn't definitely look like he has the pace on Primavera. I thought he was going to get disadvantaged by a lap car once again in this race. For the millionth time, it seems, Michael Bernberg just pulled in front of Amato through turn number 4, but he actually pulled out very wide through turn number 5. So Amato didn't lose that much time. We'll see what the times are coming over the line this time. It's a 44.9 for Primavera and a 44.8 for Amato, so it's slowly closing. But is this closing enough? Because there's not that many laps to go here. With only 10 minutes, he's got to catch up quite quickly here if he wants enough shots at getting through.
About 6 laps remaining, but don't let that lap time difference on the last lap, catch you out, because don't forget, Amato did get caught out by that back marker a little bit more than Primavera. Let's see this time round. They both have completely clear air, although Amato does have a nice little toe coming through from Daniella Primavera, but this should be a good indicator of how much Amato will be closing in for the next 5 or so laps.
He definitely looks like a man on the mission here as he comes through turn 5, seeing if he can bear down on that Porsche in front of him. As we keep mentioning, Porsches have been all over this circuit and all over the front of the field throughout the whole of this race, but this battle really is closing, and they are known for battling pretty well within each other, of course. There's a lot of Porsche Super Cup racing, which is very similar. The cars in that series are very similar, really, to these GT3 cars here today, with the engines really hanging over the back wheels, giving a lot of grip to that to the rear wheels, as I said, and it means that the tyres can go off quite quickly sometimes, as we saw with Johannes Weiss earlier on, and we probably will see with Philip Maptic as well. But it also means that they get a lot of traction as Leon Toki drive-through penalty. That's going to be really bad for him. I don't know if he's going to be in the clutches of Jesper Pedersen, but it still means he's going to lose a lot of time.
It's going to be so close, and well, let's see. We might have 2 races on our hands in those final moments, and don't forget, this could completely change the championship. When you look to how far back Primavera is from Schmidt, it's 21 seconds, so that means that Amato, he lost about 25 seconds in his pit stop, so this is going to be exceptionally close between Otoki and Pedersen, maybe about 5 seconds between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a Bentley in front of him, though, as Pedersen. I'm not sure which one it is. It's the 73 of his
Amato!
side.
Primavera's one right. Amato will take the position, and I'm not sure if Primavera just let him through there, but that is Pierluca Amato back up into second place.
It must have been a mistake from Primavera, or is he slowing down? He seems to be going suspiciously slowly here.
And Ewan Otoki's come out just behind Pedersen as well. They've just come through turn 1 now.
Right, okay. Wow. It really is all kicking off now, isn't it? Pedersen right in behind Otoki. This is going to be fantastic to watch. Well, I'll say right in behind. Not quite, but it could close because Pedersen's got newer tyres and he's going to be a man on a mission here. Setting faster laps than almost everybody at this stage. Otoki's actually behind here. If I read this completely wrong, I believe I have. Because Otoki's actually behind. I probably misheard you there, Yusuf, but yeah, Pedersen's now going to be doing the defending here, which is a remarkable turn of events.
Yep, Pedersen up to 4th place. He cannot believe it's a luck, and well, from what should have been arguably a 1-4 for Porsche, there's Alexis in the middle of them, kind of breaking things up, and Pedersen, and we say this time and time again tonight, at a track where Alexis should not be getting that many points, he's going to pick up a P4, that's 12 points, and well, he's only 2 places behind Amato and the Musto GD Esports car, so I think Burst Esports will be pretty happy with how round 4 have gone for them, as William Hansen once again gets well out of the way, and Otoki having a little bit of a moment with that rear, half a second separating Pedersen and Otoki.
You'd think with only 18 cars around here that there wouldn't be very much traffic, but there has been an awful lot of traffic to be contending with throughout this race. It's been quite phenomenal, really. So, currently looking at this battle, Pedersen versus Otoki. And what a battle it is going to be. Burst Esport versus Euronics. Look at how that Porsche closes up under brakes, but just goes a little bit wide there, does Otoki. Missed the apex, really, and struggled fantastically to get the car turned in. So that is a bit of a shame for him. But Porsches have been strong this race. We keep repeating it, but it is true. Pedersen, even though he's on newer tyres, doesn't seem to be able to match those at the front of the field. Amato did a 45.0 last time around, and Pedersen lost 5 tenths. So it really was quite a remarkable turn of events, and it's been a real change from what we've seen so far in the season, where Pedersen has been the class of the field, but unfortunately he's been the one playing catch-up in this race. And that's a shame to see for him, but he's making the best of a bad hand, really. And with a 4th position, I think he'll be very pleased.
Yeah, and Ewan Biazzizo found a way past Anderson into turn 1 this time round, and now he's all over the back of Ralph Piringa. This is a battle for 10th place. The final point, Piringa is going to go defensive as they make their way now down into turn 12. Biazzizo nice and late on the brakes. Piringa, pardon me, will run wide, and Biazzizo's got nowhere to go but off track to find the move, and that might be going to race control for a pass off circuit. But to be honest with you, Ewan, I don't think there was anywhere for Biazzizo to go.
No, not really. I didn't think he was given much space there from the Ralph Piringa there, but look at who's in behind. Look who it is. It's Jesper Pedersen here in 4th position. Leon Otoki right in behind. He's off the road there, trying to get through. Then now they run side by side. Otoki is through. And my goodness me, Pedersen has been massively disadvantaged and caught out there by that traffic, notably
down the inside.
And now he's going to go for it down the inside. Has he gone too deep though? Otoki's got the cutback. He's using that Porsche traction, and he's got the position back off the corner. What a fantastic battle between these two, and the traffic mixing it in here as well. He's just making it all the more exciting.
What a great battle we've got going right now for P4 and the battle for 10th place of mixing in, well, for us the perfect time for Pedersen. Definitely not the best time.
No, it's not. It would rather this battle would not take place at all, to be honest. Look at the two cars in front, though. We do still continue to see cars battling in front. Biazizo and Anderson. Biazizo kind of running away with it in that Butler Pal 557, but Anderson is going to be caught here in the next few moments and in the middle sector by Otoki. So could this be the opportunity for Pedersen to throw one down the inside somewhere, because he is really going to want this 4th position and add another couple of points to his championship tally.
Well, I think Pedersen will feel that he deserves, Otoki to get some bad luck with the back markers, because they are nose to tail and they are closing in Anderson. 3.5 minutes remain of the GTR 24-hour sprint, and Pedersen goes down the inside and he will squeeze Otoki wide. What a move from Pedersen, and that was forceful to say the least, but here comes Otoki back.
He does get back down the inside into the penultimate corner. It's going to get... Oh! Pedersen's around! It's the Bentley in the background there. I think it was Hinsai in the 73 who just tapped around Pedersen there. He stuck his nose in where it wasn't needed at all. And I'm afraid that has really disadvantaged Pedersen. And I think he'll be finishing in 5th position.
Pedersen is going to be fuming, and you cannot blame him in the slightest. There are back markers watching the race unfold, and then why would you just squeeze your nose in? There is no need to do that. I mean, to be fair, Sai was battling with Anderson, but is not even 4 points right now, and, well, Pedersen, he's going to be absolutely livid.
He is going to be really, really disappointed with that. Back markers have really taken a hold on this battle. They've really disadvantaged some, advantaged others, and really changed some of these battles around as well. So it never boring, you have to say. It's been very, very interesting to watch indeed. But speaking of Hinsai, he's actually in a battle right now with Simon Crane. It's Rookie Monsters versus Simply Race at the moment, I do believe. So this is a good battle to watch. 2 Bentleys. The Bentleys guys have struggled so far in this race, but it's good to see them battling amongst themselves.
Yeah, good to see them having a little scrap. This is, of course, a 4P12. Yatsitsu at the moment looking to pick up the final point, but Ewan, 2 races in a row in the last 10 minutes where things have really got dramatic, and it's becoming a bit of a regular theme, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really. This race has been particularly fantastic. I know the Zolder one in the second hour got a little bit quieter. Oh my goodness. Meanwhile, look at how late Simon Crane was on the break. He's gone round the outside at turn 12, and now they run side by side into turn 13 as well, with Hinsai on the outside. Bit more contact, but these Bentleys can take it, and Simon Crane is up into 12th position. It's not going to give him any more points, but back to your point, it really does seem to explode in the final 10 minutes. They know the finish line is in sight, and they're just trying to get any position they really can at this stage.
They are indeed, and Crane and Sai, they're going almost banger cars right now. As you mentioned, these Bentleys can take it, but as you were saying before, and they've got to be careful. They've got to take the kids to school tomorrow in these cars.
Yeah, they have. They need to be careful with themselves. The highest up Bentley, by the way, is in 8th position, John Monroe, currently followed by Matt Webb in the 15. They're not really battling at the moment, but they are the highest Bentleys at the moment. So here we go. Lucas Schmidt's going to get on to the final lap here in a moment. We've just got just over 30 seconds to go, and it's going to be the final lap in a moment. The 69th lap of the race, and that is going to be 69 laps completed, or 68 laps completed now, and by the end of the race, 69. And I'm not quite sure how many cars we're going to have on the lead lap. I believe it's going to be 8 cars on the lead lap, but what can you say about this race? It's just been non-stop action and absolutely fascinating from start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. We've seen battles for first, we've seen battles for third, then recently we saw the battle for second, and, well, Pedersen and Otoki having a great little ding-dong battle for fourth before, unfortunately, Sai just had tapped the rear end of Pedersen and sent him sideways, and, well, there's nothing Pedersen could really do about that. He just did not expect Sai to be coming in that late on, but Lucas Schmidt, you can't fault him, and you can't fault the team of Euronics Gaming either. They've done a perfect race. They've been patient, and you were mentioning these are 2 very, very young drivers as well. They've shown that they've got experience and they've got maturity to them as well.
Yeah, definitely have maturity. They've shown that tonight. That is for sure. I believe that one of the Lexuses is actually waiting for the leader here. He doesn't want to do another lap, so he's basically stopped on circuit, waiting for the car of Luca Schmidt. But yeah, Euronics are finally going to have their day here, it seems. The 57, they've had trials and tribulations all the way through this season. Not finished in the top 10 yet, and they're about to finish in the top 10 in some style here. Final couple of corners for Luca Schmidt. And here is turn 13. Lexus is going to appear in front of us in a moment, and he is going to be lapped once more in the final moments here. Final corner for Luca Schmidt, and it looks like he is going to take this win. Euronics on top here at the Hungaroring. The young guns win out ahead in a battle of the Porsches. It seems that Luca Schmidt takes this win. Pierluca Amato is going to hold off Daniele Primavera for second position here in a tantalising battle right into the closing laps. Leonard Toki is probably going to take third after that incident. Fourth position after that. Oh no, he's still with Pedersen in the top contact. Can you believe this? Pedersen might actually take this after spinning around in the final moments. No idea what's happened to Leonard Toki. He's just lost that position. And there is Pedersen, just to be fun here. That is the Lexus that we're focusing on. This is for fourth position in this race. Leonard Toki is not going to be pleased about that one bit. And now, can he restore the Porsche 1, 2, 3, 4? I don't think he's going to be able to. Goodness me, we've seen drama from start to finish here. There's an Aston Martin off the road. Pedersen
Toki's got a chance!
Into
He's
the
on the
final
grass!
lap. He's in the pits. Oh no, there's contact. Pedersen's a bit around. Dearie me, Leonard Toki has muscled his way through into fourth position. My goodness me, what a crazy race and what a crazy end.
Pedersen is mad. He hits Toki after the line. And Ewan, I think I'll leave you to interview Pedersen and Toki after the race.
I don't think I want to. That is going to be a fiery interview for sure. Mantis Records is going to take sixth position after holding off Philip Matzik for most of the race. Matzik been holding off Simon Crane, John Monroe for the final few laps. And that they are all your lead lap cars. My goodness. That was just a crazy race, but Pedersen and Toki very, very, aggressive towards the end there. I don't really know who was at fault there. There was a lot going on, and we didn't really see the start of it with the Toki's incident, but it got very aggressive towards the end, that's for sure.
And I caught some of it, so it happened in turns 8 and 9. They were running side by side through there, and there was contact, and I was actually screaming, but I forgot I had pushed to talk on, so you couldn't hear me there, Ewan. And I think Pedersen was on the inside for turn 9, and then there was contact between the two of them. One of them ended up spinning, but as he spun, he caught the other driver, and then they both ended up going wide. And, well, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see if we could get a replay, or if Toki and Pedersen can clarify that. I mean, Toki's come up on the chat and saying, you know, you could have left space on the inside. He pushed me on the grass. Brakes overheating. So, well, I don't think it was just a brakes overheating between those two.
No, there was more boiling over there. You can be sure of that one. But there you go. The 2-hour race at the Hungaroring has delivered a surprisingly fascinating race, both in terms of strategy, battles, and on-track chaos, it has to be said. Lots of battles and lots of things to mull over in the post-race show. We'll be back in just a moment after these messages from our sponsors with the post-race reaction to the GTR24 Sprint Series Round 4 at the Hungaroring. We'll be back in a moment.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Welcome back to the GTR24 Sprint Series here at the Hungaroring after an admittedly crazy race. It really has been. It ended up a Porsche 1, 2, 3, 4. Lukas Schmidt ended up taking the win alongside Team Yarshall for Euronics. Musto were in second position with Daniella Brambilla bringing his number 98 over the line in third. Leon Otoki was fourth after that crazy battle with Jesper Pedersen in fifth position there. And I'm sure that will be reviewed and talked about after the race. I'm almost 100% sure about that one. I've already seen Henningsen and Pedersen in the race control booth. So I'm sure John and Nick have been talking to them about what has taken place there, and it's going to be much argued about throughout the coming hours. But in terms of the championship, well, what has that done to it? I know we've still got 8 rounds to go, and that ends up being 16 hours of racing, which is still a very long way to go over some very difficult terrain indeed, notably Bathurst next in 2 weeks' time. So make sure you do not miss that one. But as I said, in terms of the championship, we have got still Burst Esport leading, after adding 10 points to their tally there, and they're now on 68. And Musto GD Esports are going to have gained 8 points on them with their second placed finish. So they're going to be now 8 points behind after being 16 behind going into this race. They're now going to be 8 points behind. So interesting one, but becoming a 2-horse race really in terms of the championship, but still a long way to go. Definitely, as I mentioned earlier, 16 hours of racing still to go, so it's hard to get too hung up on what's going on in the championship just yet.
Yeah, and wow. I mean, I'm still trying to get over that battle. I mean, it's exactly what you want to see. A 2-hour endurance race coming right down to the wire between two exceptionally talented drivers. So I'd be interested to hear what the race stewards have to say about that incident. But I think the first one, which happened in the chicane, was possibly a racing incident. The last one, though, was that a little bit too aggressive from Otoki?
I think it was, to be honest. He was down the pit lane road, really, wasn't he? He got to the outside. I'd need to see it again from another angle. It's hard to judge one time on, and obviously I was concentrating on talking at the same time as well, so it's hard, really, to see what was going on there. Yeah, I'm unsure as to really what was... What happened. As I said, it's going to be deliberated over through the next few hours, but I don't know, probably too aggressive from Otoki in the final corner there for me. But it was great racing to watch, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And, well, can you imagine what we're going to get at Bathurst in 2 weeks' time?
No, I can't really. I don't think I want to just yet. I need to recover from that first before I start thinking about Bathurst, because that is going to be a scary place to go. Not only over the top of the mountain, but when we get down to the likes of the chase and down the lower part, the flatter part of the course. I say flatter part, nowhere's really flat there, but the lower down, more conventional part of the circuit down towards the start-finish line. It really is going to be a very interesting race, and there's going to be a lot of overtakes, but I have a feeling there's going to be even more off-track excursions in that race, because Bathurst is an undescribably difficult circuit. It really is very, very difficult to master indeed. And to drive for 2 hours without mistakes around there is going to take a very, very good team indeed.
Yeah, well, fortunately for us, Ewan, we have quite a few very good teams, namely Burst Esport and Musto GD, who I think no matter how things get spun around, will be in first and second in the championship, unless, well, Jesper Pedersen gets a very, very big penalty. Even then, I think he should stay second. But, well, you've got 2 weeks' time to recover, I guess, Ewan, before we head to Mount Panorama.
Well, you haven't really got 2 weeks to recover because we've got the 12 Hours of Nürburgring for the Endurance Championship, or the Endurance World Championship coming up. That's not this weekend, but the next weekend after that on the Saturday. That is going to be, I can't work out what day that is. I think it's the 19th maybe, or the 20th of June. We'll be there for qualifying on Friday night as well, don't forget. So make sure you tune into both of those broadcasts. It's going to be a very good watch indeed. We've had the 12 Hours of Sebring, of course, and now we're moving on to the Nürburgring. After our 24 hours of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, we're heading to the Nürburgring GP circuit for 12 hours of racing with our cars. So make sure you stick around for that, and then on the Wednesday after that, just a couple of days later, we've got, as you say, the next Sprint Series race at Bathurst, and yeah, that's going to be 2 GTR24 races in the space of about 4 days, which is well, what more could you want, really?
I'd like a third, to be honest, but I guess we can settle for 2 for now.
Yeah, 2 isn't bad, is it? So yeah, we'll settle for that for now. Unfortunately, this is why we're rambling on by ourselves. We haven't actually had any drivers join us yet, so if you are a driver, then please do join us here in the broadcast part, because it would be good to chat to a couple of these guys. I can imagine that Pedersen and Atoki are going to be pretty steaming after that, but it will be still good to talk to them. Let's just hope that they keep all the language down, really, because it could be quite, well, yeah, quite, colourful is the word I'm looking for there. Hopefully they keep that to a minimum, but obviously the guys are going to be, some of these guys obviously will have had a bad race, and obviously they don't really want to talk to us after having a bad race, but normally the race winner do come and join us. But unfortunately, Schmidt and Yarshall don't seem to be here, so it looks like we're not going to be able to talk to the race winners, which is a shame, but it was a good drive from them. It's safe to say that they had significantly less pressure than they would have if Amato didn't have that drive-through, but Amato got the drive-through and Schmidt just played the cars that were in front of him, and he came out with a pretty comfortable race win in the end.
Yeah, it was a very good win from Amato. Pardon me, sorry, not Amato. But yeah, absolutely fantastic race, and you know, we even saw 3 cars going side by side up the hill into turn 4. I mean, you can't really want more than that here at Hungary.
No, absolutely not. It really was phenomenal. But yeah, as I said, 69 laps completed in this race. 8 cars on the lead lap in the end. The last of them was John Munro in the 23 Simply Race Bentley. And then we had the likes of Matt Webb 1 lap down. And then when you get down to the likes of Ralph Perringer 2 laps down. Also, and then it gets even worse for some of these guys. And I believe that Hansen he finished 18th in the end, but I believe he's going to be disqualified from this race because I don't know about you, but I didn't see Jimmy Wolf in that car throughout the race. I saw him practicing, but I didn't see him throughout the race, so I think that car might be disqualified, although it doesn't really matter because they finished last anyway.
I think they did do a driver change. I had on my overlay, it did say that they didn't have another stop to do. So I think they did make the pit stop, but I could very well be mistaken there, Ewan.
Yeah, I wasn't really focusing on them exclusively, so can't exactly work that one out for now. But yeah, there you go. Well, I'm going to get the the schedule up. So if you just bear with me, I'll see what's coming up really with the next couple of rounds because we know that Bathurst is next week and that's going to be a fantastic one indeed. But what is coming up after Bathurst, you ask? Well, we've got Suzuka after that one, which is going to be another difficult circuit, and then Laguna Seca, which is not quite so difficult, but a short circuit, and we're going to see quite a lot of traffic around there. Then Kyalami, which is going to be a very interesting one, because personally, I've never called a race around Kyalami. It's kind of come back to the forefront of our mind, really, because it's been all revamped and redone, really. And that's good to see. So nice to have that one on the calendar. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the race goes, really, at Kyalami.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I've never seen the track at Kyalami, never done a lap there, so I'm definitely need to gonna put in a couple of hours of practice there just to see what's up. I believe it's in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is. They had the 9-hour race there for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, the final round last season. Came after the Suzuka 10 hours and the Spa 24 and the Bathurst 12. The 5 race and the Laguna Seca 8 hours. I believe it was Laguna Seca anyway, although it's changed to Indianapolis this year. None of which we have in this. Well, we have Laguna Seca, but we don't have some of the American tracks on ACC yet. I'll be looking forward to, actually, that's something I would like to see in ACC, actually, is an American track pack. You know, when they go to they have Blancpain GT Series America, or GT World Challenge America, or whatever it's called. They don't have those tracks on the ACC game yet, so I hope they do implement those, because that will give a whole load of new tracks, and that will be very, very nice to drive indeed.
Oh, we could get some Watkins Glen and what's the other one called? Virginia International Raceway, I think it is.
I don't know if they have around there actually, but they might do. I don't follow it quite as closely as the European rounds, but I don't follow any of them really that closely. Only the endurance really. But there you go. Also, one track I'll be looking forward to is the Las Vegas Roval, which seems just very strange to me, because they kind of race on what would be normally, for what they use the NASCAR, the pit apron. It's kind of a bit of a strange one, but although we're not joined by any drivers, we are joined by our race control, our race directors, our race director Nick Newcomb. Bit of a less chaotic race here than at Zolder, but there were still a couple of incidents for you guys to monitor throughout this race. It has to be said, it was a more quiet race than Zolder, but not the most quiet we've had all season, you have to say.
It was, it was going quite well. Obviously, the blue flags warnings came out, but as you saw, there was some final minutes, final corners, incidents. We're reviewing two of them. Obviously, the main one is 94 and the 58, and also the 112 and the 52, because obviously you saw the remnants of that incident as Tocky and Pedersen came through. And we're also reviewing post-race incident between 94 and 58 also, which I saw. So that'll be coming out. So the drivers and teams need to keep an eye on the GTR24H website for any post-race penalties that will be given to any teams if they've been deemed to have infringed the rules, and especially the sporting side of it.
What's your early opinion on the incident between Otoki and Pedersen? What did you think of it when you initially saw it, and what's the early verdict on it?
I'm not gonna give anything. I've seen it. I know I've written a few points down. Obviously, I'll be giving a full review of everything I saw, and any penalties that need to be assigned will be given and will be posted on the website for teams to check.
Thought I was going to get an early one there, but
nope.
Cards close
it's not
to the
fair
chest.
on anybody or the teams.
No.
It needs to be reviewed properly and from all the different angles. So
that is true. I know why, but still, I'd love to know the outcome of that. So
yeah,
we'll keep an eye on it.
Obviously, with Bloods, I can understand what's being said, but obviously I've got a counter argument to that, which I'll not say at the minute. Obviously, as a driver myself, I know how you can set the car up so it functions all the way through correctly until the checkered flag, and obviously overtaken, and obviously I saw what happened in the second to last corner. That was another incident that's been reviewed. So even though that wasn't for points, it's just as important to the guys that were involved, and obviously there's quite a lot of points up for grab between 4th and 5th, so obviously we know why they were driving so hard. But you can also drive hard but fairly within the rules, and obviously we're looking for sportsmanship as well. And I'll be reviewing post-race incident that followed the checkered flag on that car.
Out of curiosity, is the incident involving car 73 and 94 going to be investigated?
Apparently not. I don't know.
No. Yeah, I understand that point wasn't brought up, but I can understand what happened. If the drivers haven't come to the stewards, then we can't investigate fully everything.
Yeah, I can remember what you're talking about now. The one with the lap car. Yeah. So, well, yeah. I guess if they don't protest it, you don't really have to do anything about it, or no, well, that's not really how it works. So,
well, obviously we'll try and cover all the incidents, but yeah, we know where that one's coming from. But obviously, you know, some of the driving standards from the lapped cars was again not best. I wasn't best pleased with it. Obviously, we're going to a rather difficult track, and I would imagine there'll be blue flags waved quite early on in this next event. So we really need to knuckle down on drivers yielding to the front leading cars. So we'll be reminding the drivers before the race starts, and we'll get one warning, and following that, the next one will be a drive-through, just like it was going to be tonight. But I'll definitely be talking about it before the race gets underway in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, indeed. I can't blame you for that one. Nick, thanks for talking to us once again for the overview, the rundown of what's all been going on. Unfortunately, as I said, we haven't been able to get any drivers in here today, but most of them have left, unfortunately. So I think we'll end the stream off here. The race finished about 20 minutes ago now, and none of them have joined us just yet, but that has been the GTR24 Sprint Series at the Hungaroring. A crazy race, a fantastic race though. Really enjoyed that one. Make sure you join us in 2 weeks' time for the next round at Bathurst. That's going to be an equally exciting race, I'm sure. And make sure you join us in 1.5 weeks' time on the 19th of June for the 12 Hours of Nürburgring qualifying, and then for the race on the Saturday as well. That is part of the Endurance World Championship here at GTR24. But so make sure you catch both of those broadcasts. But until then, we'll see you soon. Goodbye for now.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40x40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8, built from 80x40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12, built from 160x40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Maybe I should do that. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, we'll just...
Okay, that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, just do that, yeah.
Let's